I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I'll begin with Laura Lee calling the roll. If she's back up here, here she is. We'll give her just a minute to travel. We do that to her all the time. Sorry. Yeah, oh, yeah. Yes, sorry.
Here.
Denise Chapman.
Here.
Amy Doran.
Here.
Don Kirk.
Here.
Barbara Cruz.
Here,
Alexandra Lessem.
Here.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Here.
thank you. Nancy, would you please lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Nancy. And Stu, would you please read the mission statement?
Yeah. The Thompson School District will be a school that empowers, challenges, and inspires students, faculty, staff, parents, school leaders, and community members to learn, achieve, and excel.
Thank you, Stu. Our first item on the agenda is actually the adoption of the agenda for today, May 15th, 2024. Are there any changes to the agenda for tonight's meeting? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
Move to adopt.
Second.
So that was Stu and
Dawn.
Dawn. Thank you. So Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Denise Chapman.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
Thank you. Agenda is adopted. Next item is the approval of the minutes, and we have two meetings to approve. The first will be the approval of the minutes for April 17th, 2024. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the minutes for April 17th, 2024.
I'll move.
Thank you.
Second.
Nancy and Denise. Thank you. Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Denise Chapman.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. And 4.2 is the approval of the minutes for our last meeting, May 1, 2024. Does anybody have any changes or corrections to that meeting? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve this
So moved.
motion. Okay?
Second.
All right, Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Who moved?
Oh, I'm sorry, Denise.
Denise.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And then Don was second.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Denise Chapman. Amy Doran.
Aye.
Don Kirk. Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. So our next item will be all of our public participation, and we'll begin with Dr. Schaefer's report.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Education, community. I am pleased to bring you our monthly report, and we will refer to the PowerPoint, and I first want to open with Teacher Appreciation Week. So May 6th through May 10th was designated as National Teacher Appreciation Week for 2024. The commemorative week was created as an opportunity for students, families, and community members to recognize educational professionals for their service and dedication. As part of the celebration this year, Thompson School District invited students and family members to nominate a favorite teacher to be recognized on TSD social media. Many of our schools also honor teachers in special ways throughout the week. A huge thank you goes out to all of our amazing teachers and instructional staff throughout the district. Recently, I met with my elementary, middle, and high school student advisory committees for the final time this school year. As part of the sessions, the students provided some valuable input on district and school processes. The feedback that we receive in these groups is extremely helpful as we work each day to meet the needs of each student throughout the district. We thank the students for their dedication, commitment, and contributions to the committees. On April 30th, Thompson School District and the Berthoud Area Chamber of Commerce hosted a job fair for students at Berthoud High School. This gave local businesses and organizations the opportunity to connect with Berthoud students, sharing their business information and any opportunities they have to gain experience and knowledge about career paths within various industries. It was a great success, and we thank all the volunteers who helped to put on this event. On April 26th, Big Thompson Elementary School students released a large number of fish they had raised into the stream by Glade Park. Throughout the year, students used a curriculum called Trout in the Classroom to learn how to raise and care for fish. This was the final stage of their educational lesson as they properly transported and acclimated the fish to the cold water, their new home. On April 25th, Winona Elementary held its very own Career Day. Career Day gives students an up-close look at different career paths and also connects their learning to the real world. A big thank you goes out to the parents, community members, and leaders who shared their insights about their careers and details about necessary education and training for career success. Students also had the opportunity to listen to presenters and ask questions about the careers that piqued their interest. Also on April 25th, All Kids Bike, the national nonprofit that is teaching kindergarten students how to ride bikes in physical education classes, activated their All Kids Bike Learn to Ride program at Centennial Elementary, thanks to a $100,000 donation from Yamaha Motor Corporation that is funding 11 programs in schools across the United States. Local Yamaha dealer Tri-City Cycle had an opportunity to assemble the fleet and present the bikes on behalf of Yamaha during an exciting reveal ceremony hosted at the school, which also included a first ride opportunity for the excited kindergartners. The bikes will become a part of the school's equipment program and be used to teach many students over the coming years. On May 2nd, the community came together to celebrate the wall breaking of The Landing, Northern Colorado's regional youth shelter located in the former Monroe Early Childhood Building and operated by the Matthews House. This remarkable facility will provide a safe space and hope for our local youth. The Landing is more than just a building. It symbolizes the incredible strength and resilience of the young individuals it will serve. On May 9th, we celebrated our 2024 TSD staff retirees. A total of 63 individuals will be retiring after this school year. We greatly appreciate all of their hard work and dedication and wish them the very best as they move on to the next chapters of their lives. Yesterday was an extremely special day here in Thompson as students from 12 schools across the district participated in the first ever Elementary Unified Sports Day at Thompson Valley High School. These young athletes had the opportunity to experience the excitement of being part of several sporting events. The students, staff, and volunteers all had a wonderful time, and it was great to see so many smiles throughout the field at Patterson Stadium. Want to recognize our very own Todd Piccone. We want to congratulate him. He's our Chief Operations Officer who has been named to the top 50 COO award winners in the OnCon Icon Awards. Presented by the ON Conferences, the awards recognize the top Chief Operation Officers in the world. Finalists are nominated and then voted on by peers to determine the winners. The 2024 awards were presented virtually at the OnCon 2024 event on April 23rd. I will tell you that Todd, being a top 50, was the only Chief Operation Officer in education. And so we are really proud of you, Todd. Congratulations. So we also have Chloe Schall. Chloe, are you here this evening? So, no problem. We have another, we're going to recognize Chloe Shaw. She is a Mountain View High School senior, and she placed first in the Congressional Art Competition for Colorado's District 4. Her piece entitled The Savior was awarded the Grand Champion Prize for 12th grades at this year's National Western Stock Show Art Competition. This will be displayed at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. for 1 year. We also have a print that we've acquired, and we will display it proudly here in the district office. This is an amazing achievement for Chloe, and we are very proud of her. If she was here, we would take a picture with her, but we could clap for her. So Chloe, congratulations. Okay, so this evening on your consent agenda, we have 3 individuals that we will be recommending for hire as our newest assistant principals in the district. So I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and when I call your name, if you could please come forward. So first I'm going to ask Brandon Havard to come forward. And as Brandon makes his way up to the podium, we are excited to recommend Brandon as the Loveland High School Assistant Principal Athletic Director, effective for next school year. Brandon began his teaching career at the Estrada Achievement Center in San Antonio ISD in Texas. He spent 2 years there teaching math. Mr. Havard also implemented SAISD curriculum guides for middle school and high school level courses. He also worked with special education staff to modify curricula as needed and determine instructional goals, objectives, and methods according to district requirements. Mr. Havard then moved to St. Vrain Valley School District, where he has held various positions at Erie High School during the 6 years he was at St. Vrain. He spent 1 year as the MTSS coordinator, where he ensured that every student received equitable academic and behavioral support. He also ran a tutor center for all students and taught SAT prep to 11th grade students. Brandon was also a PE and health teacher for 3 years. In this role, he evaluated and assessed student performance in PE, promoted cross-curricular assignments to help reach school-wide goals of higher SAT scores, and scheduled guest speakers for his health classes. During this time, Mr. Havard was also the head cross-country and track coach. His teams qualified for both boys and girls state meets and finished top 10 in Colorado. Brandon's current role is Dean of Students. His work as dean included developing and implementing monthly award programs for students based on character, academics, and attendance. He also collaborated with teachers and administrators to address behavioral issues. Brandon's teaching and administrative experience, along with his coaching experience at Erie High School, has prepared him to be the assistant principal, athletic director at Loveland High School. He holds a bachelor's of science and a master's from Prairie View A&M University in Texas, as well as his master of education, educational administration from Grand Canyon University. Brandon, we're excited to welcome you aboard here to the Thompson School District.
Yes. Madam President and the Board of Education, as well as Dr. Schaefer, I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity. Principal Collins, Athletic Director Kevin Wright, I'd like to thank you guys also for this opportunity, as well as all of the parents, students, teachers, coaches, and other admin members who were on my interview committee who allowed me to have this opportunity. I can't forget my wife and kids as well, who are supporting me through this whole journey, as well as my mentors back at Erie and San Antonio and everywhere else I've been. Can't wait to get started. I'm excited to be a part of this historic high school here in Colorado. Go Loveland.
Next, I'd like to invite up Jennifer Bradshaw. And Jennifer, we are recommending as the next assistant principal at Riverview Pre-K-8. Jennifer began her career with TSD 5 years ago as the principal of Lucille Irwin Middle School. During this time, her focus has been on student achievement and ensuring all learners a guaranteed viable curriculum, increasing student engagement via cooperative learning structures, establishing PLCs and whole staff learning walks. All of these support Thompson Strive 2025 strategic plan. Being the leader of an International Baccalaureate, or IB school, Mrs. Bradshaw also focused on learner profile traits, which include communicator, critical thinker, self-advocate, collaborator, and citizenship. These traits are the foundation of who Irwin students strive to be as they grow and become global citizens. Jennifer also spent 18 years in the Poudre School District in various roles. She started at Eystone Elementary School in Wellington, teaching 3rd through 5th grades. In this role, Jennifer developed, implemented, and evaluated standards-based lessons, utilized 6 traits, Step Up to Writing, and Barbara Maraconda in writing lessons. Mrs. Bradshaw then moved to Wellington Middle School, where she taught 6th through 8th grade students. She was a district Step Up to Writing trainer and trained in AVID Leadership for Advancing Math Strand 2, Culturally Relevant Teaching, Leadership for AVID, school-wide. Jennifer then moved into the role of Dean of Students and then Assistant Principal at Wellington Middle School. During this time, she monitored student discipline, implemented attendance policies, conducted weekly learning walks, led professional development, and evaluated both certified and classified staff. Jennifer received a bachelor's in chemistry and a bachelor's in science and biology from Adams State College. She holds her master's degree in education from Regis University and her principal licensure from CSU. Mrs. Bradshaw's experience in elementary school, combined with her middle school administrative experience, makes her a great fit for Riverview Pre-K-8. Jennifer, welcome to your new role.
Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, Board of Directors, I'd like to first thank the opportunity for allowing me to serve as the principal at Lucille Irwin for the past 5 years. I very much appreciate the new opportunity to serve in a different capacity for TSD at Riverview, where I'll have the best of both worlds, returning me back to my elementary roots and continuing on with middle school. I look forward to growing and learning and continuing to serve in this amazing district. Thank you.
So last but not least, I'd like to invite up Jeremy Lanter. And Jeremy, we are recommending for the position of Assistant Principal at Thompson Valley High School. And he's already wearing the Thompson Valley High School school colors, so well ahead. That's great. Jeremy's experience in TSD started in 2005-2006, where he was a part-time math teacher at Berthoud High School, where he taught geometry and algebra 2. He then spent 1 year at Rifle High School in Garfield, RE2 school district. Here, Jeremy continued teaching math and was part of a committee that chose and piloted a new math curriculum. Mr. Lanter returned to Berthoud High School, where he spent 10 years teaching various math classes, including CPM, which is College Preparatory Mathematics. He also wrote district assessments for geometry, served on several district committees for SBI, graduation competencies, and personalized learning pathways. Jeremy was also involved with a textbook adoption committee. He also coached football, basketball, and track for the Spartans. Jeremy moved to St. Vrain Valley School District, where he spent 3 years at Niwot High School, where he continued teaching math and coaching football. Upon his return to TSD, Jeremy has continued teaching math at Mountain View High School for the past 4 years. He is a PD team lead and implementation team member, EC12 curriculum representative, and mentor teacher. During his time at Mountain View, Mr. Lanter completed his principal internship while pursuing his principal licensure. He was also the Rotary Teacher of the Month and nominated for TEF Educator of the Year Award. Jeremy is a proud graduate of Berthoud High School in the Thompson School District. He received his bachelor's in mathematics, teaching emphasis, and a master's in educational leadership, both from UNC. We are extremely proud to have a former TSD graduate serving the students and community at Thompson Valley High School.
Dr. Schaefer, Madam President, and the rest of the Board of Education, I'm humbled and excited about this opportunity to continue to serve the Thompson School District. I look forward to serving the students, staff, and families over at Thompson Valley High School. Thank you so much for your belief in me. I sure do appreciate it.
So next we move on to our Top of Thompson and Community Champion Awards. As a reminder to the board, our Top of Thompson Awards are peer nominated, so we recognize staff members have an opportunity to recognize staff members in the categories of classified, APT, which is our administrators, as well as licensed. Tonight we have classified and licensed, so we're going to start with that. And so for classified, I will like to invite up Amy Kaumbacher, who is an ITS help desk technician, and she was nominated by the Nutrition Services Office team. So if we can have Amy and someone from the Nutrition Services Office team come forward. We have director herself. Okay, so we'll let you start.
Am I reading this?
You are reading it, yeah.
Okay.
Here you go.
I need one, is it?
I might need glasses.
Oh, yeah. Even the type's too small.
So sorry.
Can't see. Okay, I should have it memorized, right? Amy is a gem. She demonstrates an amazingly positive and upbeat attitude consistently. She is so patient and kind as she helps people resolve their IT issues. I have overheard her talking on the phone, because she has a big voice, occasionally, and that just seems to be how she rolls all the time. She has, how she rolls no matter the problem she's dealing with. Amy also brings a lot of fun and happiness to the SSC building with her office decorations, her candy bowl, and she even brought everyone a cute little treat recently. She sometimes ends up in the receptionist role due to her location near the front door, and she never complains about it. She sets a great example for the rest of us.
Amy, congratulations.
Thank you.
There's a plaque. And then, Amy, don't go too far. We'll take a picture with the group in a little bit. Thank you.
Yes, I will
Congratulations. Okay, next I'd like to move on to licensed. I'm going to invite up Trish, and Trish, I'm going to do my best. Ianacito? Good. Ianacito, okay. She's a speech language therapist for the early childhood evaluation team. And Trish was nominated by Kristen Fontana and Melissa Keller.
You have to be by the microphone.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Trish has done an outstanding job making sure her evaluation teammates have had a smooth transition into their new roles on the team. She always goes above and beyond her role as a speech therapist by making sure all the families we work with feel comfortable and are welcomed. She helps families understand the evaluation process by answering any questions they have and getting information to them that they request. She also does an amazing job presenting evaluation results, going through the eligibility determination and IEP in a way that is family-friendly. Trish is caring, thoughtful, and strives to do her best for each child the team evaluates. When families express anxiety and are feeling nervous about having their child begin preschool, Trish validates their feelings and comforts them by reassuring them that their little ones are in good hands and that the team will be working on all the skills we talked about to ensure that they will be successful at school.
Congratulations. So finally, we have our Community Champion Award, and Community Champion is could be a local nonprofit, local business. It's a community group or member that supports the district in meaningful and authentic ways. And this evening, for our Community Champion, we would like to recognize the Canine Community Heroes, and they were nominated by Jen Von Lintup. So if you would please come forward.
I am honored to introduce you to Canine Community Heroes, which is a nonprofit 501c3, and their founder and director of training, Lisa Hayes. I approached Lisa back around when the world was falling apart in 2020 because I anticipated that our students would need some additional supports. And I really focused on animal-assisted interventions. At that time, a lot of our volunteer teams were not able to come into our schools, and I recognized that we needed another route. And I reached out to Lisa and said, hey, how about a training program for our educators? And she jumped on board and created a trauma-informed program that's a 9-month-long program held at BF Kitchen Elementary. We meet on Thursday evenings, and we're reducing stress in our students, increasing that sense of belonging. She's worked with principals, Like we have an example of one of our teammates over here. Teachers from elementary through high school, special ed, GT, social workers, occupational therapists, school counselors like myself, and introduces the benefits of the human-animal bond so we can bring it to our schools. You can ask anyone who's completed her program. Looking at just, I don't think she has the opportunity to hear about the full impact of our teams, but any one of us could share a multitude of stories of how we've impacted not only students, but the staff in our buildings and our families. So I just want to say thank you, Lisa, for your expertise, your dedication, there must be hundreds of hours of work building a special program just for Thompson School District. Phone calls, text messages, emails, coming out to schools for re-evals, and letting us make a big impact on our students. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So Lisa, don't go too far because we'd like to take a picture with you. And then if we can also please invite up Amy and Trish, and then I'd invite the board to take a picture.
They'll stand behind him once they get up there. All right. Can you slide this way? Can we all slide this way for me, please? Go this way. Everyone move this way. Yep. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. So look here. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna- Yeah, she's in the bathroom. Just-
So last but not least, it is my pleasure, so as you know, each month we invite one of our amazing schools to come and share some of the great things that are happening. And today we have our friends from Loveland Classical Schools, and so we're going to invite them to come up, and we are excited that you're with us this evening.
Hello, Thompson School District Board of Education. Thank you for your work in service of our local community. Thank you for providing us with the opportunity to share about Loveland Classical Schools. My name is Allison Metzler, and I am a graduating senior. I have been with Loveland Classical Schools since joining in the 6th grade. We are currently wrapping up a fantastic school year. Last weekend, we just finished our performance of The Play That Goes Wrong for our drama department, which was one of the most technically involved plays we have ever performed. It was a great success and, in my opinion, hilarious. These student theses are currently ongoing, such as what is a great leader, drawing on examples from the classical world in the 6th grade, on freedom and equality in the American Revolution and civil rights movements in the 8th grade, what does it mean to be an American in the 11th grade, and for our senior thesis, what is the good life? What are your guiding principles in your life? Drawing upon our LCS curriculum as well as connections in our own lives.
My name is Shannon Trumbo, and I am currently a 7th grader at LCS. We will be celebrating our Carpe Diem Perseverance Character Recognition Awards on the last day of our school, the 24th. Students will be celebrated for either going above and beyond school expectations or striving through adversity for growth this school year to achieve success. We had our final concert for our 6 instrumental music ensembles and 5 vocal choir ensembles in the Schoolapalooza Festival yesterday. Additionally, our magical singers performed their annual community tour at local nursing homes and hospitals a few months ago. At our elementary school, this year is also ending very well. Our kindergarten through 5th grade students are also wrapping up their school year, which consists of academic-themed days such as Renaissance Day, and end-of-year concerts and student art exhibitions, and with the end-of-year community service projects.
Hello, my name is Nathan Murgury. I'm a 10th grader at Loving Classical Schools. As an LCS high school student and an athlete who plays baseball for Mountain View, I'm grateful for the opportunity to compete, as my school does not offer baseball, which I think is really awesome. We can go and compete with other schools. Here are some accomplishments that the LCS School Athletics Program achieved during this current school year. We are Foothills League champions in high school boys soccer and boys basketball this year, and Foothills League runner-ups in high school girls volleyball, girls basketball, boys cross country, girls cross country, and soccer.
Hello, my name is Kylan Quinones, and I'm an 8th grader currently at LCS. I am sharing about middle school athletic league achievements, which include NCIL League champions in boys soccer, boys basketball, and boys cross country, and league runner-up in girls soccer and girls cross country. Also, regarding the high school academic all-state team, we had 19 of our juniors and seniors named to the first team recognition. We also had 3 of our high school coaches win the Coach of the Year in the Foothills League.
Senior graduation is this Saturday. Some examples of our senior enrollment next year include the University of Colorado, Colorado State University, University of Denver, Oregon Institute of Technology, Colorado Christian University, and South Dakota School of Mines, as well as several of our students attending the Ascent Partnership Program for a full year of tuition at Front Range Community College. Further, 2 students from our graduating class received full scholarships from the Daniels Fund, as well as winners of a Macaulay Scholarship, the Loveland Big Thompson Kiwanis Scholarship, the Loveland Rotary Scholarship, and the Loveland Seratona Club Scholarship, to name a few. Thank you for allowing us to share about this school year and for your support in each and every student of the Thompson School District.
Students, that was really well done. We'd be honored if we could take a picture with you. Could we do that? Sorry, so we'd like to take a picture with you. Thanks.
Good. Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are ready to move on to our committee reports. And first thing I want to do is, we had spent time in our executive session, and we did the evaluation of Dr. Schaefer, and just wanted to report out the overall scoring was a 3.65. 2, thank you. I buried the paper somewhere. And which is highly effective, which we all expect it to be. So congratulations and thank you. All right, I kind of tasked the board with sharing something that they, an event they had attended, participated in, or whatever of our busy month of May. And it's only half over, and we know there's equally as many things going on. But we'll start down here with Amy. You want to go first? Okay. I said just one event. We don't have all night to listen to everybody's events they've been to.
I'm going to say I could scroll through my...
No, pick one.
So I'm going to talk about all things unified sports. Just excited to talk about our, Dr. Schaefer did mention it in his superintendent report, but yesterday was the first elementary unified sports day over at Ray Patterson Field. And, you know, it was just amazing to see athletes, and then we had partners from the high school and just the connections that they make. You know, athletes moving their bodies in different ways, trying new activities. The partnerships, it was just really, really amazing. We had 12 out of our 19 elementary schools who were invited, attended, and so we can only get bigger and better from there. Friday, May 3rd, I went to the Special Olympics with track and field. That was for Thompson and Poudre School District, middle school and high school students, plus our Community Connections program. And that is a huge event. So just think all of the middle schools and high schools. So just, you know, so much fun seeing athletes and partners, again, partner together, friendship, skills. Yeah, it was just really amazing. And it was the full day there at Fossil Ridge High School. So grateful that we had bus drivers to transport all of our students to Fossil. Our teachers, paras, everybody who was there, just phenomenal. And then we had our middle school, Thompson School District Unified Basketball Tournament a couple weeks ago at Loveland High. And again, that was just an amazing opportunity to see athletes excel. And, you know, the thing that's the big takeaway is just the partnerships with the athletes and the partners. So just all good stuff. So thanks, Barb.
Okay. Stu?
I'm going to talk to you for just a minute about career readiness in the Thompson School District. About 3 weeks ago, Denise and I attended the Impact Awards Partnership Recognition Breakfast. And the front of the program for it says, recognizing business and community partners and their impact on the career futures of students in the Thompson School District. And that's really an understatement. There were 38 different partners from throughout the Thompson community who have hired students as apprentices, working with them as interns, providing other kinds of opportunities for them to grow and to understand in career readiness. Dr. Schaefer mentioned the job fair at Berthoud High School, which was put on by Berthoud High School, the Thompson School District, and the Berthoud Chamber of Commerce. And then finally, in the realm of career readiness, yesterday, Barb, Denise, and I attended the open house at Thompson Valley High School, the geometry and construction class, as they have now completed their 12th home, which will very soon be moved to a location in Berthoud for Habitat for Humanity. So career readiness is alive and well in the Thompson School District.
I would like to talk about a committee that I attended for the first time. It was the 1338, and I would like to just say, yes, Bill Sievers. It was the funnest committee meeting I've ever been to. Just saying. Well, I even got a heart sticker that said, I love HR. So, but it was interesting. It was this committee focuses on making sure we comply with the new teacher evaluations and effectiveness. It went from 70-30 to, or 50-50 to 70-30, which is a big change, I think. I think it allows teachers to feel more like professionals and that they are graded on how they actually conduct their class, teach their class, educate their students versus spending so much time worried about how are the kids going to score. I mean, that's still important to them, but now they are evaluated, I think, in a better way of how they actually do their craft, their art, their profession. And it was just a really good conversation about the whole thing. So I want another sticker.
So on Friday evening, May 3rd, I went to the Crystal Apple Awards ceremony down at Fairgrounds Park. which is the end of the year celebration of the TEA. And it was a very, 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 very cold and very, very, very windy evening. But it was really neat to be there and hear all of the teachers who had been nominated for the Crystal Apple Award. And the highlights were many of the nominations included student comments as to why they felt that their teachers should win the award. And it's always really special and inspiring to hear words, straight from the students' mouths about the impact that their teachers have had on them. From some were pretty profound and others were a little silly, but still it was really a great event to be a part of and be reinforced the impact that our wonderful teachers have on all of our many students throughout the district.
I had the opportunity to attend the Student Achievement Ceremony at the Thompson Career Campus, and as a former Van Buren student, which is now the the Thompson Career Campus, it was just amazing to see what's happening in that building and hear about what the students are doing now that they're leaving the program. As many students going into nursing programs, both here in Colorado and out of state. Several pre-med students that are rolling out, students that have jobs already that they've been working on as a result of what they've learned in class. They are already, transitioning into, highly sought-after careers. In fact, recruited into careers based on what they've learned there at the TCC. It was a really uplifting evening as they were celebrating their own success. And kind of it hit everyone. We are moving on, but it's in a really good direction. So I was delighted to be able to share that time with them.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to just talk very briefly about something Dr. Schaefer showed pictures of, and that's the celebration for retirement for the teachers. 62, 63, how many did you say?
63.
63. What's nice about it is generally it's just the people that have chosen to come and their families, but Dr. Schaefer reads a little snippet about each one, telling about their memories to being teachers in the district, what their plans are, where they're going to go, that kind of thing, who's going to sleep in, who's going to travel, all those fun things that come with being a retired teacher. I wanted to share a little bit about this because as I didn't present any of the awards, I just made sure everybody got the right one. I didn't want my picture done. But I remember these teachers that are retiring as baby teachers. So it just made me feel really reflective on the amount of time. I've had a lot of them in classes that I taught for the district. It was just fun to be able to give some celebration hugs to them and to see them reach the point in their career where they're ready to choose to do something a little bit less stressful, I guess I would say, for them at this point in time. So we have a lot of events that have occurred, and we have a lot coming up, kind of ending with graduation. What date is that? The 24th?
Next Friday and Saturday.
Okay, it's right, yeah. So that means that everybody's school year is drawing to a close. So everybody has a wonderful summer with that. Yes, Dr. Schaefer?
Member Kirk has resigned.
Yeah, and she's chosen to not share.
She's not, okay.
Okay, yes. All right, so that concludes our board committee reports, and we will move into public comment. So, Dawn, are you up to doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Because the board wants to hear the viewpoints of the public and also needs to conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner, it will schedule time during its regular board meeting for brief comments and questions from the public. The board will set a time for public participation prior to the business portion of the meeting. The time for each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and each individual will only be recognized once. If there is a large number of speakers, the board may elect to take comments for 1 hour prior to the business meeting and conclude public comment after the business meeting. Public comments and questions at a regular meeting may deal with any topics related to the board's conduct of the schools. Speakers may offer such criticism of school operations and programs as concerns them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly. Personnel matters will be discussed in executive session. I will start this when you start, and you will get a green light over here. When you have 30 seconds left, you'll get a yellow light, and then when your time ends, you'll hear a beep and it'll turn red. Our first speaker is Julia Miller.
My name is Julia Miller. I want my counselor back to help me with speaking, and I want my mom to have notes on my speech therapy and my counselor so she can help me with my education so I can work at Disney or Pixar. Okay, I'm done.
Hi, my name is Deanna Miller, and I'm Julia's mom, sorry. And I'm here this evening to address the Direct Advisory and Accountability Committee report dated May 15, 2024, that supports that this district has upheld ESSA and upheld the Education Accountability Act of 2009, which requires closing the achievement gap for special needs students, and it has not been upheld. FAPE, or free access to public education, has been violated by IEP goals not being set as clear and measurable, inadequate baselines, no samples of the student work, vocational goals and community connections not being addressed, supported, or met, denial of assistive technology, predetermination before the IEP meeting of services given, dismissal of services without proper documentation, violation of parents' rights to meaningful participation, non-compliance of adding parents' notes to the IEP, especially when negative comments are documented and FAPE is involved. I have personally contacted Dr. Schaefer 3 times via certified mail or hand-delivered mail and have nothing yet been done. How can I accept this? This district is in clear violation of the IDEA, 1 CCR 4.02, 4.03, 2.51, and transitional services. I provided earlier a copy of all the documentation that shows this being backed up. My name is clearly labeled on there if you want to contact me, and I'm more than happy to provide you the 5 state complaints that I've recently filed. And I'm requesting at this time that an in-depth audit be conducted in the Direct Advisory and Accountability Committees, because I feel that it's not being accurately reported by those listed on the report, which are listed today as Dr. Melissa Snyder and being presented by, and Brian Hendley. So that is it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.
Frankie Dixon.
Hi, my name is Frankie, and I'm in 4th grade at Trescott Elementary School, and I really like the dual immersion language thing, and I would really and I want it to continue into high school.
Bob Pattinson.
Hello, I'm Bob Patterson. I'm from Stu's hometown of Berthoud, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to address this group today. Many of you are familiar with me with my enthusiasm for the Thompson School District, since you know me by my involvement in hosting last year's candidate forum in Berthoud. And since I started working as a substitute teacher this spring, okay? 3 things I want to talk about quickly: gratitude for the folks that helped me become a sub, how maybe we can get more subs in the system, and a cell phone school policy. Substitute teaching has been an incredibly rewarding and fun experience for me due to the outstanding support I've received from key individuals and schools within the district. I want to extend a special thank you to Priscilla Hernandez for exceptional onboarding and training, which helped me ease my nerves in that very first scary day of subbing, okay? I'm also grateful for the unwavering support from the administrators and teachers at Berthoud High, Thompson Valley, and Lucille Irwin. As a matter of fact, the first person I met subbing was Miss Bradshaw, and the day I was really busy was helping sub when they were interviewing for vice principals at Thompson Valley, okay? A few weeks ago, there was a critical shortage of substitutes with over 75 positions open in a single morning. To address this ongoing demand, I urge folks I know who have the available time to consider becoming a substitute teacher. I believe it's essential for the school district to actively participate in public events outside of the usual educational industry to recruit more substitutes. Go to things like the Larimer County Fair, Berthoud Days, or any other event that you can put up a booth to try and recruit people. Many eligible folks don't know you don't have to have a teaching certificate to be a sub. If you want me to go to those events and be an ambassador, I'll do it too, right? It's also no secret that students may approach substitute teachers differently than their regular instructors. After all, I remember we had a term that we called sink the sub, okay? I've gathered invaluable information from classroom management from other experienced substitutes and that have met in the schools. I developed a few on my own too. Recently, I proposed to Ms. Hernandez the idea of hosting sharing and learning sessions for substitutes, both seasoned and new. I would be pleased to help lead those events or those sessions, which could occur monthly through a Zoom call if it aligns with Ms. Hernandez's vision for support and development within our substitute community. Also, during my time as a sub, I've come to realize the significant disruption that cell phones can cause in the learning environment, as well as the stress they can induce with students. I make it a point to ask at each school, what's the cell phone policy? Yesterday, I shared a couple documents with you all. One is about the impact of cell phones in the school. And lastly, a motion that I'd like you to maybe consider carrying forward. Thank you. Okay.
Kate Penley.
Hi. So my name is Kate Penley. I'm the mother of 2 dual language students, one of which is a part of our Trailblazing class that's entering high school this fall. At the freshman orientation night at Thompson Valley High School back in November, my daughter and I, went to the World Languages booth, and no one had any clue about anything dual language related. I emailed the freshman guidance counselor. No information. Nowhere for me to go to find the information. Months of no communication. Enrollment for high school started. We didn't even have dual language course codes to use for registering our kids. When that was provided, we were provided with 1 course for freshman year. That's not what they were promised. We also, They also have said nothing since then, up until late last week. I received an email inviting me to a parent meeting for dual language at Thompson Valley. Apparently, there was also one at Loveland High School. I would have loved to attend both, but they were scheduled at basically the same exact time. At that meeting, the plan for the addition of courses was great, but up until this point, dual language classes have been required as a part of the program, and the additional classes that have been added are no longer required courses. So what is the benefit to our students for them to now be given the choice to opt out of this program because the courses are no longer mandatory? My other question is, why did this meeting just magically pop up out of nowhere on such short notice and conveniently fall just 2 days before this board meeting, where dual language had just been added to the agenda tonight? So I'm also a bit confused at why the IB program has 4 coordinators at the district level. Why does dual language not have a single point of contact when the IB program has 3 schools, and as of this fall, dual language will have 6? If we had a coordinator of some kind, we would have had somewhere to go in February during registration. And that somewhere doesn't always have to be Tony. She doesn't even have a 100% contract, and she is not designated solely to dual language. She is amazing. We see her all the time. She is at all of the schools as much as she can be, but she is just doing what she is capable of. And that's not what the dual language program needs. We need somebody that is going to be there for us and be there for our kids and fix what's broken, so in the next 4 years, our Trailblazers can succeed.
Leah Johnson.
Good evening, Board of Education. Thank you for your service. I know it can be a thankless job, so appreciate you listening to us tonight. I'm here, I'm a Truscott parent. I have 2 children, a 4th grader and a 1st grader in the dual immersion program. In 2015, the district passed the dual immersion program, as Kate talked about, the Trailblazers. And one thing I do want to note is there's a bunch of folks back over here who are part of us tonight who didn't necessarily sign up to speak, but are here to support this effort too, because this is critically important for our kids who have committed to this program to continue, and the district to follow through on the promise that was made. So in 2015, started in 2 elementary schools, both Cottonwood Plains and Truscott Elementary School. Then in 2020, there was a board report that identified the middle school plan for what those Trailblazer kids would be doing when they entered middle school. One thing I would say is currently now the district isn't even fully following through on what the promises were. If you go to the district website, it says that the middle school kids are getting 50% of their instruction in Spanish, which is not true. Only 25% of the instruction is in Spanish. And so it's not truly a full dual immersion program. So, really recommitting to what dual immersion means and the commitment to that. Talking points are nice, I get. It sounds good to be dual immersion, but to actually follow through on the promises are what really matter. And so not only that, now we hear that the 8th graders are moving on into high school, and it seems that there's really not a plan. And, I think as a parent who is invested in this for my kids, as my children are invested in it, as you saw my daughter, she loves dual immersion. She loves learning Spanish. And in fact, she'd rather read chapter books in Spanish, which sometimes is a challenge. Because I'm like, no, you have to read English too. But these programs are critically important. And I'm asking you to follow through on the promise of 2015 that said our kids would graduate with nearly a minor in Spanish. And as it stands right now, that's not where we're at. And I tell everybody I possibly can in this community about how magical Truscott is. And I sat in a chamber board meeting with Mike Hausman just recently and talked about this program and how exciting it was that our kids are going to be able to graduate with a minor in Spanish. But I don't believe that that's the truth as it stands right now. So I'd like to be telling the community the truth about what we're actually delivering to our kids. I'd also like to take a really quick moment to say how gravely disappointed I am in the district for not properly recognizing Truscott for the award that they received. Our teachers, our educators deserve better. I've been asking since December to celebrate the school and the educators who received the Governor's Distinguished Improvement Award. And I had a community member ask me just the other day, oh, I heard Andrea Sampson announced it at council. Why haven't I read anything about it in the paper? I said, I'm asking the same question. I think it was a huge missed opportunity to celebrate amazing educators in this district, and I'm very disappointed. Thank you.
Jill Brito?
Good evening, Madam President and the board. Thank you again for your time this evening. I'm before you with a unique position as the parent of two students at Truscott Elementary, a first grader and a fourth grader, as well as a profesora de español in the Durham Region program. I actually cried when I got the call from Michelle Mueller, our school secretary, that our kid was accepted into the program, because that's how much this program means to me, not only as a teacher, but as a parent, because I truly believe in my entire, with all my being, that biliteracy and bilingualism is the most precious gift that we can give our children. And I just want to say how incredible that this program is. I truly believe that it has the potential to be one of the best dual language immersion programs in the country and recognized as such. And my sincere hope and ask today is that the same level of thought and planning that has gone into this incredible elementary program that will continue on into the high school, not only for my two children, but the 200 that I also consider my own, because they deserve that. Thank you.
Haley Jory?
Madam President, school board officials, Dr. Schaefer, and members of the public, my name is Haley Jory. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My concerns for you come after 3 challenging years for my 8-year-old daughter and my 10-year-old son. Both of my children attend Big Thompson Elementary and have since the fall of 2021. It's a school that we choice into and hope to have our kids finish their elementary grades through. I come to you today with a knot in my stomach for the physical brutality children at Big Thompson Elementary face monthly, weekly, and for some daily. For our son, these behaviors started in 2nd grade at the PTA pool party. We had only been at the school for a couple of weeks, and most of those days had been very challenging. A child in my son's classroom had threatened to drown him at the pool party if he came, which had really scared him. He was a 2nd grader at the time, and because we were new, I had hoped that involving him in the community events would help integrate him. So I made them go. In the brief moments I was attending to my kindergarten-age daughter, the boy took the opportunity to hold him under the water until another parent got involved. My son was terrified. Since that incident, my son has been bitten, punched, had his face burned on the asphalt of the playground, his shoulder cut open with a 2-inch gap, and his glasses broken by being punched in the face. All of these are separate incidents while at school. While you may think this is a full list of the aggressive incidents, you would be mistaken. My daughter is terrified of a boy in her class that physically assaults other children. He has called her vulgar names, punched other children in front of her, and pushed her down on the playground while removing her clothing. While our hope was that separation agreements that we requested would alleviate some of these interactions, after numerous violations, it took Title IX violation threats to even get a meeting with administration beyond the school principal, Sarah Walgust. My children, including likely more children, are expected to excel in this environment every day. The statistic floating around is that 2% of kids are being effective. My experience is 100%, as it's affecting both of mine. I kindly request that my children are allowed to attend school, excel as they have in their studies, and experience an environment full of accountability and actual consequences. My hopes are that my pleas here today are heard and legal consequences can be avoided. I really appreciate your time.
Scott Gray.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam President, esteemed members of the school board, and community members. My name is Scott Gray, and I'm the daughter of a first grade student at Big Thompson Elementary. I'm here tonight to present our safety concerns and paint a picture of the lack of response and professionalism by leadership at the school. The following events highlight the urgent need for immediate action from the school board to ensure Big T students have a safe, supportive, and transparent learning environment. Last year, when our daughter was just beginning school as a kindergartner at Big T, and very quickly into the school year, we had to raise concerns about her discomfort accessing the school bathroom. Meetings were held with the principal to address this issue with little result. It finally reached a breaking point in March when our daughter, who was once so very excited about school, had become an overly emotional child who hated school and refused to attend, hiding in our bathroom shower in full panic about the thought of returning. She shared with us that she feared school because a boy was following her into the bathroom stall, laughing at her, screaming in her face, and in at least one instance, exposing himself to her while she was trying to relieve herself. It was later revealed that multiple boys in the class were doing this to other female students. My wife immediately went to the school and notified the principal and proceeded to spend that morning in the classroom where she witnessed firsthand the boy follow our daughter into the bathroom stall and begin acting erratically. My wife immediately intervened and sent the boy back to his seat. She then sent an email that day sharing what she had witnessed and asked the boys' bathroom access be restricted to an alternative bathroom rather than the shared classroom bathroom, as it had no locks and essentially no supervision. No email response was received. Rather, the principal, very unprofessionally, found my wife at pickup and stated that our request was denied for the boys to use a separate bathroom due to staffing issues. That was the only follow-up provided. Despite repeated reports to the school, the situation proceeded, leading to extreme distress to our daughter, who was eventually diagnosed with PTSD due to sexual harassment. After multiple delays by school officials, we finally had the opportunity to express our concerns once again about the bathroom safety and the lack of supervision. Still no action was taken, and shockingly, in one instance, the principal claimed ignorance of the situation despite prior documented communication. Now on to first grade. And I'm going to probably run over time, and I'm sorry. In November 2024, our daughter reported that she and another female peer had been cornered by a group of boys on the playground and were coerced into pulling down their pants and underwear. We immediately reported the incident and met with the principal, at which time she shared with us that she had confused our report with another situation where a group of first graders had been exposing themselves to one another on the playground, proving a chronic issue of this type of behavior occurring at the school. Shockingly, this previous incident was never reported to parents. After the principal completed her investigation, it was shared that the boys confessed, and it was found that one boy was the lead provocateur. Because this boy was in the same class as the girls, we, the parents, requested she be...
Please wrap up.
You're going to have to sit and wait. I'm sorry. After the principal completed her investigation, it was shared that the boys confessed, and it was found that one boy was the lead provocateur. Because this boy was in the same...
I'm sorry, but your time is up, and everybody gets 3 minutes. I'm sorry.
All right, I will summarize. To summarize, we have a multiple of documented ignored correspondence, chronic lack of action, and unprofessionalism. We have made this decision to move our daughter, who now must leave the school, her friends, her beloved teachers, and more importantly, at 7 years old, she knows that she's no longer safe at Big T. The absolute lack of concern for her safety and the safety of other students has become a real problem. And in conclusion, we acknowledge the dedication of the Big T teachers, but a change needs to be made immediately.
Katie Nagy. Good evening, Dr. Schaefer, Madam President, members of the board, and community members. My name is Katie Nagy, and I am a resident of Berthoud, and I open enrolled two of my two children into Big Thompson Elementary. They are currently in 1st and 2nd grade. I'm here to talk about our experience with bullying at Big T. My 8-year-old son first started experiencing bullying at Big T in the spring of 2022 when he was 7 years old. A group of his male peers began harassing and bullying him both emotionally and physically. I first notified the school of the problem at that time. However, the school failed to intervene or deter further bullying, and it picked up again in the fall of 2023. In September of 2023, my son Sky was assaulted by the same group of male students while playing baseball at recess. One of the boys tackled him to the ground and shoved his face into the concrete, causing a bloody nose. I reached out to the teacher to report the altercation and follow up with next steps to keep my son safe. His teacher then informed Principal Walgast. However, again, the school failed to take meaningful action to deter the boys from future violence, and there were no consequences. The bullying continued and spread, and on January 17th of this year, while Sky was assisting his PE teacher in collecting cones after a game, one of those boys who had been tormenting him the entire day ran and slide tackled Sky, striking his legs and knocking him to the ground. His injury was immediately apparent, and the school called EMS. My husband arrived at the school before the ambulance. When he arrived, Sky was laying on the floor in excruciating pain, and the gym class was still going on around him. Children were still running around the gym. The ambulance arrived and took Sky and my husband to a local Loveland hospital. I arrived at the school after that to pick up our 1st grade daughter, and I ran into Mrs. Walgast. She assured me that this had been a freak accident and that it was probably just a pulled muscle. Upon arrival at the hospital, Sky's leg was x-rayed, which revealed that he had a spiral fracture of the femur and would need immediate treatment and surgery. A spiral fracture of the femur is usually only seen in children who have been in car accidents or who have suffered severe child abuse. Sky was transferred to Children's Hospital in Aurora by ambulance and underwent surgery to repair his leg. He now has 2 large plates and 6 screws in his leg. We found out that he would be bound to a wheelchair for 3 months, and he'll require another surgery this fall. Following his time in the wheelchair, he requires significant physical therapy, which is ongoing, and due to the bullying he experienced there, he requires therapy for mental and emotional suffering. We decided to remove our children from Big Thompson Elementary and the district because of our safety concerns. Sarah Walgast requested a meeting with us to discuss this. During the meeting, she was extremely rude, and she said that she was unaware of our concerns. And she attributed this to rough play. While Sky's injury is the most severe from the ongoing violence at Big T, he is not the only child that's been harmed by the school's failures and Walgast's lack of compassion and leadership.
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Lastly, during our 4-night stay at Children's Hospital, doctors, nurses, the child life specialist, social workers, they all found this situation so disturbing that they told Sky, "You should feel safe at school." And the reason why the children at Big Thompson Elementary do not feel safe at school is because they're not. Thank you.
Carolina Quinones. Sorry if I'm saying that in a way that makes it unrecognizable. Carolina?
Carolina?
Okay, well, that was our last public comment then.
Okay, thank you. And we didn't have any call-ins tonight.
I would like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion that Dr. Schaefer form a committee and investigate the allegations that we have heard tonight and provide a report to the board, because what I have heard is unacceptable. And I would hope that someone would at least give me a second on my motion tonight so we can have a discussion.
Is there a second? Hearing none.
No,
Oh,
I'll
okay,
second. I don't know
okay.
what we're allowed to do.
You're allowed to make a second on a
Yeah.
motion. You don't need permission.
It doesn't need to be added to the agenda or whatever. Okay, I don't know.
Okay, so we have a first from Nancy and a second from Alexandra for a, say it again,
A motion to
to
direct Dr. Schaefer to form a committee that will investigate the allegations we have heard tonight and provide a full report to the board.
Okay. Is there any further discussion from it, people? Dawn?
It strikes me that this is a personnel matter from the sounds of it, and because of that, that would be something that we don't talk about in an open meeting. I do think that having, using the protocols we have is more appropriate.
Okay. Anybody else? Stu, you're thinking? No? Amy?
I guess it's a little, I don't know that that is the role of the board, is to look into personnel matters. We've always been instructed that's not, we do policy. I don't know what the right answer is here.
Yeah, we said in our thing that personnel is discussed at a different point, yeah.
And by no way am I condoning or saying that what has happened is, but as a board member, I just don't know what the right thing to do is here.
Anything, Stu?
Hey, Scott.
I agree, this sounds like a personnel matter. I'm not sure if the correct action is that the board would direct human resources to investigate this, but I do believe this is a personnel matter. I'm just not sure what the process is for dealing with it.
Dr. Schaefer?
Yeah, I would recommend, I have senior level members of my team here that have heard what was shared this evening, and I will direct my team to certainly follow up with the individuals that spoke tonight, and I would recommend us following our normal processes.
Okay.
May I?
And so the people who would be following up are human resources and academics, or who are the?
So I will direct staff. So based on what we've heard, I will direct members of my team to follow up with the individuals that spoke this evening for additional follow-up and investigation.
All right. Alexandra, anything? Denise? Anything?
Yes, personnel issue, but there's a culture issue as well.
Yeah.
If this has been happening for as long as it's happened. So I want to make sure that that's layered into whatever next steps are through the process.
Nancy?
I would just like to say that there is state statute that goes through what we are responsible for, and we are not we are responsible for everything that happens in this district. Doesn't matter if it's a personnel issue or what. Dr. Schaefer is our one and only employee, which is why I directed him to make sure that this is investigated. And we are held accountable for whatever happens in these schools, good or bad. We all love to sit up here and do these celebrations, but we get uncomfortable when we have stuff like this come before us. But this is what we were elected to address and ensure, not just to do the celebrations. What I heard tonight is unacceptable, and I believe we should have an investigation, and I do not want another feel-good report to come out of this investigation that it tells us nothing. I want to know as a board member, after this is investigated, what happened and who will be held accountable. And yes, I understand it's a personnel issue. There are confidentiality rules that I cannot break. I get that. But I need to know that I can look these parents in the eye and tell them that there were people held accountable. And so I stand by my motion, and if there's no further discussion, then I guess you can call the vote.
Is there any further?
Yeah. I would respond by saying that Superintendent Schaefer has already said there will be an investigation, that it will involve the chief academic officer, human resources, et cetera. I believe a process is in place. I believe we will follow the process. And, yeah.
All right. Laura Lee, will you call the roll, please?
Could you restate the motion, please?
She would like Dr. Schaefer to direct an investigation on the allegations presented tonight and provide a report to the Board of Education. Is that
right?
Yes, a written report to the board that we do not have to present at a board meeting. We just need to receive it in our email.
Can I ask a question? What would be different with that than what you're planning to do?
I wouldn't be following up with the Board of Education. I would be handling it internally. We'd be working with staff to investigate the parent or community complaint, and following that would be our typical process. And then if the parents or community are not satisfied with the response, then they could escalate it to the Board of Education for further review. At this time, it would be inappropriate for the board to be involved, in my opinion.
A question, Madam President. Have situations like this in regard to complaints against a building administrator or a teacher, et cetera, been lodged, and has this process been followed before?
I'll answer your question. Before I say that, I'll just remind the board does not comment on public comment typically. We did have a motion and a second, and so that's why this was discussed.
Sure.
But it's typical that what's brought forward during public comment, the board listens, takes notes, and then in this case, certainly, we would be following up, which we often do as well. The answer to your question, Stu, is no, not during my time. On the 6 years I've been here has this occurred.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd?
No.
Denise Chapman?
No.
Amy Doran?
No.
Don Kirk?
No.
Barbara Cruz?
No.
Alexandra Lessem?
I abstain.
Member Lessem, I think that you're not allowed
No,
to abstain.
sorry. I was waiting to see if someone.
Then I guess yes.
Okay.
Nancy Rumfeld?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's 5-2, it fails, but we'll have follow-up from Dr. Schaefer, so be assured that there will be follow-up and communication to all of you. Okay. All right, is that everything, Don? Okay, thank you. All right, we're moving on to, oh shoot, I lost everything. Action consent items, and this is where we are going to be voting on items that we had at our study session, May 1st, I believe is when it was. And I'll read through the list. If anybody has anything they want removed, we'll do that. We have a proclamation that somebody's reading. I think it's Amy that's reading that. All right, so there was a long list, so bear with me on this. 6.1 is approval of personnel extra duty coaching recommendations. 6.2 is the approval of expenditures of $50,000 or more. 6.3 is the approval of Head Start community assessment. 6.4 is the approval of probationary licensed staff contracts. 6.5 is the approval of the declaration of surplus property for water shares. 6.6 is the approval of declaration of additional surplus bus vehicle disposal. 6.7 is the approval of acceptance of agreement for the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, funds. 6.8 is the approval of the 2024-2025 board meeting calendar. 6.9 is the approval of the proclamation recognizing National Teacher Appreciation Week, which was actually last week, May 6 through 10, 2024. 6.10 is the approval of the amendment to the superintendent's contract. 6.11, approval of the routine reconciliation of the superintendent's unused vacation days, 2023-2024. So, is there anything that we would like to have pulled from this list?
I would like to pull item 6.8, approval of the board meeting calendar.
Okay, and we'll discuss that in just a minute. Well, let's go ahead and do that now. Would you like to go ahead and?
That's not.
Oh, we can't do that yet. I'm sorry. All right. Amy, do you want to read the proclamation before we do the rest of it? Thank you.
Proclamation for National Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Thompson School District Board of Education proclaims May 6th through 10th, 2024 to be Teacher Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the Thompson School District Board of Education strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work.
Thank you, Amy. So I've renumbered, so it's 6.1 all the way through now it's 6.10, is correct? All right, so I will take a motion to approve the ones that are remaining on our action consent items.
So-
First, Stu, go ahead.
So moved.
Okay, so I have a first from Stu.
Second.
Was who?
Denise.
First from Stu, second from Denise, and Mark. Dr. Schaefer,
I would
excuse me.
recommend, no, it's fine. Maybe if board members might have any comments on any from 6.1 to
Okay.
6.10 before voting.
Does anybody have any comments they want to make, any discussion regarding any of those in particular items? Nancy?
I know, you're shocked. I just would like to comment on the teacher appreciation.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. I very much think that the proclamation is great. I appreciate the teachers and all their dedication and hard work. I also think that the best way to show appreciation to our teachers is to actually hear what they're telling us and to validate their daily experiences, such as the petition signed by over 500 teachers, and I think that is how we show appreciation and thanks and gratitude to the teachers who are in the classroom dealing with all the behavioral issues, which we heard more of tonight. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else have any comments or discussion? I can't really see you too well, so if you just be sure and let me know. Sure. Okay, Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd,
Aye.
Denise Chapman,
Aye.
Amy Doran,
Aye.
Don Kirk,
Aye.
Barbara Cruz,
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem,
Aye.
Nancy Rumpfelt.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries for those items. All right, 7.7 is the discussion action item. 7.1 is the approval of tentative agreement for negotiations. Dr. Sievers.
Does this one become 7.4?
Yeah. It becomes 7.4.
Andy was trying not to come up here for some reason. Madam President, School Board, Dr. Schaefer, Bill Siebers, Chief Human Resources Officer. I'm accompanied by Andy Chrisman. Really quick, we just want to recognize all the staff in the room tonight that has been a part of negotiations. So if you can stand so we can recognize all the hard work you've done for tonight's. Also, this is Andy's last presentation as the TEA president, so if we can acknowledge his work for the last 10 years. We'll save this speech for later. And then we'd like to recognize Sue Timer, who is going to be the new TA president starting in a couple months. So if we can recognize her as well. A lot of great work that takes place. So the 10 agreements that we have, Stride 2025, 3.4 investigate areas in compensation and benefits so that TSD is competitive. This presentation will connect through the negotiations tentative agreements. We'll review the tentative agreements for 24-25 and related items in compensation.
Our first topic was around the subject of elementary PLCs, and as you remember, it's a sort of a plan, do, check, adjust of our negotiated agreement last year. And so instead of specifying 2 late start Wednesdays per month for PLCs, we changed the language to be more flexible in essence, so it'll be 120 minutes a month rather than 2 Wednesdays. And so while the default is still Wednesdays, you can exchange a Wednesday morning for plan time if you want to have it during your time. Or if your elementary school has more than 300 minutes of scheduled planning time during the student day, you can use that extra time for PLCs if you so choose. And there's a charge for a task force to be created by the 2+2 Oversight Committee. And basically it's to look at how different sites currently balance all of the different work that teachers have to do when they're not with students. And how some sites are able to capture more than the 300 minutes of time during the week, either through their staffing plans or other things, and cost out some of these things as we go for recommendations to next year's negotiations.
So the second item we have is site-based shared decision making, and the work is we have a charge there. So as you read this, I presented this information at the study session. For the 24-25 school year, 2+2 Oversight Committee will organize a task force. The purpose of the task force is to research internal, external, collaborative decision-making plans and identify best practices in order to make recommendations regarding Attachment 1 and Article 6 in time for 25-26 negotiations. So the feedback from the board, we definitely wanted to put a timeline in there so people can understand that it's for the next year's negotiations. All current site-based shared decision-making plans will be reviewed by sites by the end of September 2024. So we added that specific timeline in there to ensure conformity to state and federal laws and regulations, board policy, the memorandum of understanding, and other TSD parameters. 2+2 Oversight Committee will provide guidance in regards to laws, regulations, and TSD parameters and additional guidance as requested. So there's a plan to work with principals and ARs as far as giving what the expectation is when they go back to the buildings in August. Compensation part, we'd like to present both. We'll go back and forth. But we are totally excited about the compensation package that's coming forward to you tonight. License salary schedules, we are adding $3,300 added to each cell in license salary schedules A and B and steps and columns. So what that means is our starting salary right now for the Thompson School District as a teacher is $50,000, and we're increasing that to $53,300. So we're pretty excited about that. That comes out to an average of 7.02 complete package percent. And what that means is for other employee groups, APT would see a 7.02 increase percent, And classified, what we're doing with classified is we're increasing it by an 8% pay, so we're pretty excited about that, which would have starting pay for classified staff at $18. So that's something we're working with classified staff.
Okay, we talked a lot during our budget study team in the fall about the extra duty schedule and heard a lot of input from Kevin Clark, our district athletic director, and from elementary staff and our extra duty committee. There's still a lot of work to be done. I'm not going to lie. We're very excited about what we have here. Right now, high school and middle school leadership teams receive extra duty contracts for the work that they do to direct the work of the building. Elementary school teachers for years have done that work pro bono. So for the first time, we have 4 positions per elementary and K-8, 4 extra duty contracts per building for elementary leadership teams, which is great news. We're going to be able to start the girls' flag football team district-wide at Mountain View High School, and to have a unified programming coordinator, which is, as you know, over the last 2 years or so, that program has really exploded in a good way. And so having somebody to kind of coordinate all that and provide some guidance would be good. We're going to honor a step for all extra duty contracts. I will highlight, though, that we are still roughly $1,800 behind on the athletic side, which is about 30% 40% neighboring districts for coach pay. So we still have some work to do there. But this is great stuff. The other thing I'm excited about is we have right now in our MOU a $500 stipend for National Board Certified teachers who have earned that through their examinations and what have you. We were able to change that language to be not teacher, but licensed staff. So now any licensed staff who achieves a National Board certification that matches the requirements in the MOU will be eligible for that stipend, including our nurses.
I also like how Andy started negotiations for next year. So we totally understand where critical questions coming from. All right, so this gives you an idea of how we change the teachers to licensed staff. So this is the compensation continued. So that's just wording that we have in the MOU. And then we have another part of MOU cleanups everywhere. Every year we have some type of MOU cleanup items. So I'm not going to read through all of that, but you can see what's crossed out and what's added to it in red. And then calendar considerations for parent-teacher conferences and work days. So the highlight of that, instead of parent-teacher conferences, it's being moved to conference days. And then as far as the additional red there is just defining, because at times PCC is Professional Concerns Committee. There are variances that come to PCC that necessarily don't need to be at PCC. So we're just cleaning up some of the wording for the future work. And an insurance benefit, trying to reflect some of the board policy with the MOU cleanup, which then after this, the next steps is we will look at the board policy again and make some corrections to the board policy to bring it back to all of you. And there's another slide with MOU cleanup.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And then flexible spending account programs, something that was changed from 5,000 to 10,000.
Questions?
No. Any questions? I think we're
Let's-
designating Sue Timer as the person who will answer the questions.
Okay. Denise?
As the new
Any questions?
incoming
Okay.
president.
My
Alexandra?
hand didn't go to my nose just yet.
No? Santi?
I just, a couple things. I read in there that there's now going to be a co-chair for the JIC that includes classified. It was in one of the, I think it was under the working conditions for some reasons. It was in one of your notes.
So basically, if you go forward one, I believe. Slide 10, sorry.
I don't know what.
So, back, wherever. So in that red, basically, the superintendent does no longer designate a co-chair for the committee. One of the chairs is still a licensed representative, a teacher. And so that's continuing, but instead of saying the superintendent appoints one, it's going to say there's going to be two co-chairs, and one's going to be a licensed teacher and one's going to be someone.
Okay, so it was language, basically language.
Basically, adjusting to meet what we are, what they're already doing. This language, I don't think, I've been negotiating for 20 years. I think this is the same language that was in there 20 years ago when I started negotiating. So practices have shifted, and so we're just adjusting.
Just adjusting, okay. And then the other thing is on the wages for the teachers, I think that's really great. Again, we keep pumping it up, but I also think it's really great that what we've done, what you guys have done with the classified and listening to us talk about that we needed classified wages to be higher than what someone can make at Walmart. Because I think that's how we get the quality staff we need to help the teachers in the classroom and to keep them. So I thank you guys for all your work that you did on that.
Stu? Question? Amy? Don? I just thank you guys and your group of people. It went very well this year, so thank you. All right, no more questions. All right, that's it.
No, we just have the Article 22, so once
Oh,
there's a
that's
vote,
right.
then
Okay.
there needs to be a signature. So we'll take a brief 15 seconds for both of you to sign it,
Okay,
if it passes.
All right.
When it passes, I mean.
okay. Yes, because we need to move this to a voting item, so. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I need a motion to approve the tentative agreement from
I am so moved.
Association. Thank you, Denise
I'll second.
and Nancy. So it's Denise and Nancy. Any discussion? Just glad it went as well as it did, so.
Yes.
Laurie, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd,
Aye.
Denise Chapman,
Aye.
Amy Doran. Don Kirk,
Aye.
Barbara Cruz,
Aye.
Alexander Lessem,
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
All right, motion carries, and he needs a signature. Yes, we're glad. I don't have a pen. You know me. I never use a pen. Okay, thank you, and congratulations to you. I hear you're moving on. Thank you. Are they all leaving now? Okay, bye-bye. All right, moving on to 7.2, and this is the approval of the New Vision Charter School Amendment. Truly. Todd, okay.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, Dr. Schaefer, Todd Piccone, Chief Operations Officer. Tonight before you again, first, I guess, let me strive 2025, ensuring all facilities are welcoming, safe, and inclusive, and two-way communication between our community and partners. In the March 6, 2024 board meeting, we initially presented a amendment number 2 contract to the New Vision charter. That charter amendment is for safety and security, really defining what it needs to be between the district and charter schools. So since March, we have been, let's say, a little back and forth. But what you'll see attached tonight is just a minor adjustment to what you previously saw. So you'll see in section 2.2.1.2, that highlighted section, that is the only change from what was presented on March 6th. So for your approval tonight, it's just the amendment number 2 that would take effect July 1st. Yeah, 2.2.1.2, receive stakeholder input.
1.2. Hold on. 0.2. Oh, yeah, it is highlighted.
Highlighted,
I see it
yeah,
now.
the yellow
Yeah,
part.
it's in pink, maybe? Did you find it? Yeah, it's really hard to see. Okay, is that it?
That is it.
Anybody have questions for Todd over this? Okay, I need a motion to approve the New Vision Charter School Amendment.
So moved.
Thank you, Alexandra
Second.
and Stu. Alexandra and Stu. Any discussion? Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd,
Aye.
Denise Chapman,
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Don Kirk,
Aye.
Barbara Cruz,
Aye.
Alexandra Lesson,
Aye.
Nancy Rumpel.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes, finally. 7.3 is the approval of the appointment of the district auditor, and I think I see Gordon coming up.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. Gordon Jones, Chief Financial Officer for the district. I bring this item forward for your consideration tonight for appointment of the district's outside audit firm. This, per board policy DIE, the board is the entity that appoints or hires the district auditor. The typical practice is every 5 years we have a 5-year rolling contract. It's a 1-year contract with 4 possible 1-year renewals that we have each year. Last year we extended and we offered an extension based on some timing factors for a 6th year for the existing auditor. In April there was an RFP or request for proposal that was posted and advertised, soliciting bids for firms that were interested in serving in that capacity for the district. We received 5 responses. Those were then gathered by the procurement department. There was a small committee that reviewed those applications, or those proposals is a better word, and scored those accordingly on a variety of different categories. Again, managed and overseen by the district procurement policy. After that scoring was tabulated, we met again to have a further discussion about any questions that any of the members had, and to dive into those a little bit more, narrow the field, if you will, a bit. There was a clear choice amongst all members of the review committee. I'm here tonight to present that firm for your consideration of adoption. There is some interest in the timeliness of this, because the plan is in the second half of May for the audit firm to plan the audit, start aligning their resources, securing their resources, planning the audit specific to Thompson School District, and then in June, be here for a week to conduct field work, sampling of transactions, discussions with staff, a variety of different things, and then be back for a week likely in October or early November to finish up their work, the testing that they need to do for the 1 or 2 months that they won't do in June, and then help with the preparation and review of the ACFR, which you'll all be able to recite correctly, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. In reviewing the proposals, a couple factors that I'll mention that led to this firm being recommended. I did check references. That was one of the requirements of the RFP. They provided, all 5 were very qualified firms, capable of doing the work. All met all terms of the requirements in submitting a proposal. But I checked references. The firm that is going to be recommended, when I get to that, is one that has kind of a unique approach where they have a siloed business, a siloed model, meaning that the people that they assign to their K-12 education audits are K-12 education auditors. They don't do oil and gas one week and real estate the next, and a municipality the next. They are K-12 auditors. So they are one of the larger firms in Colorado. They have a presence in Colorado. They have a presence outside of Colorado. And with that siloed approach, they'll be able to staff appropriately, the expertise and number of staff, quite honestly, to be able to do the field work and the final work when they come out. Again, I did check with several references that were provided, got very good remarks from those references. These are people that it's not just a blind call for me out asking for a reference check. These are fellow professionals in school finance that I work with, that I have a relationship with. So I have the utmost confidence in the honesty and the report that they have given. So bringing forth to the board for consideration tonight is the appointment of the firm by the name of Plant Moran to become the district auditors for the next year for the 23-24 audit, and then the opportunity to continue that for up to 4 additional years at the district's discretion.
Does anybody have any questions for Gordon? Alexandra?
Who have we been using up to now?
Hinkle and Company is the firm that we've used for probably the last 6 years. They acquired the firm that was used before, which was Swanhorst and Associates. Wendy Swanhorst was the principal of that firm. This is very standard practice amongst school districts to every, and not just school districts, municipalities, private businesses, to at least consider having different auditors every 5 or 6 years.
Anybody else have questions? Sue?
I guess my question is a follow-up to that, Gordon. Why is that? If an entity, if a school district is satisfied with the work that the current auditing firm is doing, why move to someone else?
That's a very good question. There's no requirement to move to somebody else. The district has that opportunity. The board has that opportunity to continue that relationship. The pluses to staying with somebody is familiarity with the district, with the work papers that the district or the district prepares. In the biz, they're referred to as PBCs, prepared by client work papers. Conversely, one of the downsides is familiarity with the firm, with the district. So there's a level of comfortableness sometimes, and the saying of a fresh set of eyes sometimes reveals practices that could be improved upon or points out particular items. On a personal note, my philosophy of audits is it's a necessary and important part of doing business. It provides another level of transparency. And I've, at this stage in my career, which is closer to the end than it is the beginning, I've been through, I don't care to count the number of audits, from a single auditor firm to some of the big 4 accounting firms that are out there. And just the ability to have a fresh set of eyes, and a lot of times I've worked with staff that has a concern that the auditors are coming in to find everything we're doing wrong. And my philosophy is they're coming in to validate everything we're doing right and provide a few points of improvement that we could look at and consider for improvement. So no requirement to change auditors, but it's reasonable practice. And I think for the size of our district and the size of some of the references, the districts that were listed as references that I reached out to are very comparable in the size to Thompson School District. And there's a level of complexity as you increase in size. And I think, again, all 5 firms that replied to the RFP were capable of doing the work.
Just one follow-up comment. I certainly understand and respect the reasons for changing the auditor. For the couple of years that I served as board treasurer and met with the audit committee, I was very impressed with the previous firm. And so for whatever that's worth, and I felt they did a good job. They certainly understood what they were doing. In conversations you and I had, I got the impression that you certainly felt that way too. But all that said, I understand the rationale for changing, so thank you.
I would certainly echo that opinion of our existing auditor. They have done a fine job for the district, and this should not be seen as a reflection on their work whatsoever. One of the challenges in the industry is, as many industries are feeling, is the staffing issues, and smaller firms have a more difficult time staffing sometimes. This is one of the larger firms with a larger pool of staff to be able to help conduct the audit as well. That's a consideration as well.
I was only going to follow up on what Gordon said, in that when you switch your auditors, you often can uncover, like Gordon said, practices, because people become so familiar. You get to know them, you get to develop a relationship, so it's really easy to overlook things. And it also, not here, but it can also lead to things like embezzlement and so forth, because the auditor firm has become so comfortable and familiar with the accounting team that they don't ask the questions because they just trust the answers that they're giving. So it is not just good school district practice, it's good business practice in general. And so, and Plant Moran is a very well-known and well-respected firm.
Thank you for clarifying not here.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I will take a motion to approve the appointment of the district auditor. From somebody up here.
So moved. Or second.
Alexandra and Stu?
Yeah, we tied.
Okay.
Give her the motion, I'll take the second.
Okay. All right, so Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd,
Aye.
Denise Chapman,
Aye.
Amy Doran,
Aye.
Don Kirk,
Aye.
Barbara Cruz,
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem,
Aye.
Nancy Rumpel.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Gordon.
Thank you, Board.
All right, 7.4 is the approval of the 2024-2025 board meeting calendar. And Nancy, you moved it, so let's hear.
My position on this is the same as it was last year. This is not about any one particular person or religion. It's that I don't believe that we should change the board calendar to accommodate a religion unless we are also accommodating that religion for the entire school district, students, staff, teachers. We all sometimes have to miss a board meeting or a study session. And so it is only for those reasons that I do not plan to support or vote for this.
Okay. Discussion and comments, please.
I'm just wondering what it's called when we exclude people because of religion? Isn't there a name for that?
Would you repeat what you said?
What's it called when we exclude people based off their religion? Because I'm pretty sure there's a name for that.
So does that mean students and teachers can now sue us because we're excluding them from the holiday participation? I mean, this is just a simple vote.
I'm going to move on to Amy. Any comments? Stu?
I guess the only comment that I would make is that our nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. We're asking for a variation in the calendar for those of the Jewish faith, the Ten Commandments, as well as some other aspects of that. Those Judeo-Christian principles govern the way our nation has been governed. They promote concepts of liberty and equality. I'm very happy to vote in favor of a variance, as we did last year, so that those who are part of this particular faith can practice and participate in all the different holidays.
All right, over to Alexandra or Denise. All right, anybody else? All right, I would take a motion to move this for approval for the calendar.
So moved.
I need a
Second.
second.
Denise.
Denise, so Dawn and Denise. And is there further discussion? All right, Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd,
No.
No, you want to approve. You want to approve the vote.
Oh, we're not voting.
No, she didn't have a motion. She just asked to pull it so we could explain it. So all you need to do is say, yeah, I won't tell you what you have to vote.
so you're voting as it was presented,
The board
as it was
calendar is
presented in
approved, yes
the
or no?
agenda.
So I'm,
For the board calendar.
okay, just a second. I'm a little confused
Yeah,
here.
that's okay. Right here is. our
Madam
ballot.
President?
Yes.
So what you're voting on is the board calendar as was originally presented with the variance. So that's what you're voting on. All
Thank you.
Member Rumfeld did was just move it to discussion to discuss. She didn't pass any motion, she just moved it to discuss it.
Thank you. I understand now. I will vote yes.
Denise Chapman,
Yes.
Amy Doran,
Yes.
Don Kirk,
Yes.
Barbara Cruz,
Aye.
Alexander Lessem,
Aye.
Nancy Rumpfelt.
No.
All right, it passes 6-1. All right, that's the end of discussion action and discussion items. And we'll start with Melissa, the District Advisory Accountability Committee celebration and recommendations. And I just am going to stand for a minute.
Yeah. You want us to take a break?
No, unless everybody else needs a break, but I don't figure anybody else does. I'm just going to stand a minute.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Schaefer. Melissa Schneider, Chief Academic Officer. Tonight is a joint presentation by our chair and me, our chair, Brian Hurley, and myself, around DAC celebrations and recommendations. These are this is an annual presentation to the board, but I want to give you a few background items first before we begin. I would first like to start by thanking our chair and co-chair for this past year. So as I just mentioned, Brian Hurley has been our chair, and Jessica Lambuth, who I don't think is with us this evening, but maybe she is listening. We do deeply appreciate her participation as well as co-chair this year. I would also like to take a minute to introduce next year's chair and co-chair. Brian Hurley has agreed to be our chair once again, so thank you, Brian. And Ryan Wilkin, who I don't believe is with us tonight either, but maybe he's listening. We do appreciate him. He is going to be our co-chair for next year. So very, very excited about the level of participation and enthusiasm in DAC this past year. Moving on to our Strive 2025 Connections. This is a statutorily required committee that is designed to ensure two-way communication with our community stakeholders and the district. It increases alignment of resources to reflect the needs identified in our Strive 2025 strategic plan and provide transparency of our resources. A little bit more of our background: federal and state law wrap into this committee. The Educational Accountability Act of 2009, which established our DAC at the state level, as well as our federal law with Every Student Succeeds Act. These rope into our Unified Improvement Plan document. And in that Unified Improvement Plan document, it is articulated how we seek alignment in closing disparities for our different student groups, as well as some of our pedagogy in our classrooms, best practices, and stewardship of resources. Those are all part of DAC focus areas. Moving on to statutory requirements. So according to our Colorado Department of Education, we are responsible as a DAC to make recommendations to the school board. So I will turn this over here to Brian here in a second. And linked in here is our District Accountability Handbook. All of our new voting members this year have taken a training around what DAC is and have reviewed this handbook, and we will also dive deeper into that in August when we reconvene. So without further ado, I am going to let Brian share with you our process for developing these recommendations and celebrations and sharing them with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. So just to kind of discuss the DAC process, we meet once a month, and we have a planning time in the middle basically in between that to kind of discuss what are the topics, what are the things that are people asking for, what kind of things are people passionate about. So through that, at the very beginning of the year, we kind of review and monitor the District Unified Improvement Plan. We also look at our strategic plan, which is Strive 2025. We also review the district performance and demographic data available from local student academic data, graduation rates, or graduation data, attendance, chronic absenteeism, and then the climate and culture survey data. We also reviewed the school accountability committee activities, which are based at the actual schools, and have ongoing communication with them. And we've also received in-depth consultation and program information from key district staff members. So after our year of all of that, we put together our celebrations and recommendations for the district. And keep in mind, these are, I would consider the most thought out, because this could be a 10-page document. So I hope I don't leave anybody out, but we do celebrate the steady and significant increase in on-time graduation rates. We commend the district's commitment to increasing graduation rates and using equitable interventions and strategies. We appreciate the continued efforts spent positively promoting alternatives to college, including the focused and effective efforts to ensure the availability of career pathways, including the Thompson Career Campus. We celebrate the family, student, and school partnerships, especially those highlighted through the Unified Sports Program. We would like to recognize the significant progress made in the area of staffing and recruitment and retention of quality members. For our recommendations to the board this year, under our Strive 2025 student learning and engagement, the DAC recommends an increased focus on addressing climate and culture results to build a stronger sense of belonging for students. The DAC also recommends studying student behavior trends, including attendance, and ways to increase positive behavior and decrease undesirable behaviors. The DAC recommends an increased focus on reading, writing, and math scores across the district to improve overall performance. Continued with the family, school, and community partnerships, the DAC also recommends a parent and community informational campaign about youth substance abuse and how it affects student engagement and graduation rates. For staff recruitment and retention, the DAC continues to recommend budget increases to recruit and retain more staff. And then additionally, the DAC does recommend continued consistency in staff budgets for sake of continuity of care and planning for students' needs. Thank you. Does the board have any questions for DAC?
All right. Questions? None? About over here. Questions? No?
I think she was starting down there.
I did. I started down there and nobody responded, so I'm, no. It's a little hard with this.
Okay, sorry. What was I? So I think it's great about the focus on the youth substance, because that is a real problem. So I'm glad that the DAC is picking that up. I also appreciate the DAC is also adding to the focus on behavior issues. And I guess, do you guys ever talk about, when you talk about the budget recommendations, do you guys ever discuss like telling us actual numbers you want? I mean, not that we can wave a magic wand and give it to you, but beyond just saying you recommend, do you guys ever talk about the actual budget and what you think we ought to increase?
I mean, there are examples, for instance, like you brought up the idea where, and actually my daughter made this comment to me earlier today. She's like, how much money do people that work at Chick-fil-A make per hour? And I say, well, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe $18 or $19 an hour. And she's like, oh, well, what about teachers? Do teachers get paid that much? And I'm like, well, maybe not. But there are situations where like Dr. Siebers talks about, kind of raising that bar, and as everyone else does, talks about kind of raising that bar, that we need to be competitive. There has to be a reason that somebody wants to go into a school, whether you are a licensed professional, you've gone to school, you have a master's degree, or maybe you're just a high school graduate, looking for a job, working with staff or working with students of all kinds of things, all kinds of needs. I could say, yeah, we should all be making $50 an hour, but it's, it's all, not all real. And it's different for different communities, obviously.
Okay,
But,
all right.
but yeah, there's, I mean, we all have our dollar amounts, I guess, but.
Okay, and congrats on being chair again, and I
Yeah,
know
thank
it
you.
was kind of a nail-biter process, but congratulations.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was definitely an interesting election, so there was four of us that were nominated, which is great, because it shows how passionate people are, and how people are like engaged and wanting to make change for the district, which is awesome. I really hope that trickles down elsewhere, up to the school board, down to our schools, where we can get people more involved in PTA, PTOs, SACs, whatever it might be. So I really am looking forward to the next year, and especially, especially the fact that, looking back when I started with DAC before the pandemic, Strive 2025 was like way out there. Yeah. And hey, we got a timeline now, right? It's almost 2025, and where are we at?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. Any other questions?
Alexandra, question?
No.
Denise? Brian, thank you for all your
You're welcome. Thank you.
service for us. All right. Next item is 8.2, Master Planning Committee update and recommendation.
Good evening again, Board. Todd Piccone, Chief Operations Officer. Tonight, before I start the presentation, all our committees deserve a shout out, but the work of the Master Plan Committee, we have, as you'll see in the slide, 31 members that are dedicated and involved in the work, and spend quite a bit of their time. So first, before I turn it over to our chair, just a thank you to that group, because they do, their commitment to TSD and what the input they provide is very valuable. Just alignment Strive 2025, the transparency and resources, prioritize of capital and human resources to support the vision and mission, and our community partnerships. So just the overview of the MPC. The MPC is a planning advisory board to planning advisors to the board per policies FBA and FBA-R, and also their bylaws, which are publicized on the website. Currently, we have 31 members. We advertise each year, and then we take all members that want to come into the committee. So from here, I will turn it over to our chair, Chris Wright, who will take us through the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Board. As Todd mentioned, I'm Chris Wright. I'm the chair of the Master Planning Committee, and just this is a recap of where we've been for the past few years, looking at what needs we have for facilities for the school district. Basically starting well before my time, but definitely last year, looking at how do we capture the growth that's happened within the district. And right now we're at that, we've been looking at community forums. We had the bond survey that went out. Obviously meeting with staff, meeting with the leadership, and then obviously within the MPC itself, and meeting in the community. Where we are at right now is that second red dot. That would kind of be the "you are here." For those of you who remember malls and the maps.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who don't know malls, no, just kidding. All right, stupid question. How do I advance the slide?
I just did for you.
Thank you. All right, so thank you, by the way. Again, just a brief outline of what we've been doing. We've been looking at comments, questions from feeder meetings, from student input sessions that the staff have done, from staff meetings themselves. Obviously, the meetings that we've had where we've been able to ask questions and discuss options. We've heard from TSD Learning Services, and obviously the result of the Magellan Strategies survey data, which is the survey that went out earlier this year. I don't know if you guys want some background, but the biggest thing that we did hear from that is that we had, within the district, we had some of the best, or within Magellan's history, we had some of the best return of responses. So we have Magellan seems to have a very high confidence of the information they're giving us because of how many people responded and the variance of who responded. And then overall, these are the needs that we're looking at for the next, say 5 to 7 years, in terms of facilities, maintenance needs, overall classroom and educational enhancement needs, overall safety and security needs, and then demographic needs. And this would be kind of, if we were to wave a magic wand, this is what we'd need to fulfill all the needs that we have. And we know that that's not possible, so we kind of went from there. But to break these down into smaller categories, looking at the overall maintenance needs, now this is everything that would be in there. We broke it down into what are high priority needs. This is stuff that's code compliance, it's safety. Then we also have medium priority needs. These are things that are going to come due, but not necessarily right now. And then priority needs, which are, they're on the radar. Last year, my analogy was, when you're driving your car, you start hearing a noise and you can go, you know what, I can just turn the radio louder and ignore that for a little bit. That's this kind of stuff. But eventually you got to get that fixed too. That's kind of where what priority needs are. They need to be fixed, but maybe not right now. The big thing is that stuff that's in the medium priority, that becomes high priority, and it becomes that way quick. So stuff that might be functioning but not functioning well becomes broken. Now, obviously, high priority needs are stuff that's either broken now or needs to be fixed for compliance. So looking at some of these things, these are different pictures that the staff were able to pull around and find out. For instance, Mountain View High School tennis courts, because of settling, we can't use them anymore. The surfacing on Ponderosa, at Ponderosa Elementary School is rough. There's issues with the Ivy Stockwell rooftop unit. The Garfield Elementary School asphalt, you can't quite see it in the field, but it's actually kind of a trip hazard. And obviously within Turner Middle School, we're starting to get leaks in the roof. As far as like more medium priority needs, looking at the next slide. Thank you again. We have the ductwork insulation over Loveland High School that's getting to the point where it needs to be replaced. The Truscott Elementary School carpet, where it's seen some wear, it's getting to the end of its life. The exterior doors on Coyote Ridge Elementary School, it's, again, getting to the point where there's starting to be some rust, and then they're going to need to be replaced as well. And then Ponderosa Elementary School, some settling there where that pillar goes. And then finally, just general priority needs that overall things are working, but they will need to be replaced. The Walt Clark Middle School boilers, they're getting toward the end of their life. We've got great facility staff who can keep these things running, but magicians can only work with so much. The Truscott Elementary play structure, again, it's getting to the point where it needs to be replaced, but again, a little while down the line. Lucille Irwin Middle School, the carpet's not as bad as what we saw in the other, but it's getting there. The next thing up is kind of our district safety and security needs. One of the big things is the secure vestibules. Not all of the schools, I believe there are eight-ish schools that do not have secure vestibules, meaning if somebody's coming, the idea is that what we want is any visitor to the school will find an adult before they hit any kids. Not all of our schools have that. So this would include budgeting to bring that in line and make sure that all of our schools, you can find a staff person before you find any kids. Radio amplification. There are places in the buildings where radios don't work well, and we want to fix that because if something's happening, we want to make sure that people can hear and talk. And lastly, just general physical system upgrades to make things safe and secure. Here's some needs like, especially regarding the vestibules. I almost said vegetables, which more because it's been a while since dinner, right? So Bill Reed Middle School, obviously it's a challenge because they do have that split level entrance. But Ivy Stockwell and Berthoud Elementary, both, these are pass-throughs to between classrooms and the gym that don't have any security around there. So the idea would be to, whoops, sorry, Mike. The idea would be to fix that and provide a little bit safer environment for our students. And then we have district educational enhancement needs, and this would be like innovation space upgrades. For instance, some of the maker spaces that we have, other educational program enhancements, and obviously the Thompson Career Campus and other career technical education. This would provide ways to provide more space and more places basically for that to happen. But lastly is the, for lack of a better way, phrase it, probably the elephant in the district, which is capturing all the growth. Here is Berthoud, and the blue area is Berthoud Elementary School, and then you have the green shaded area, and that's the district boundaries for, or that's the school boundary for Ivy Stockwell. And as you see, we have quite a few students in there. Moving to the next slide, over the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to need to capture about 250 seats. We looked at a few different options. The two that really came forward would be first to remodel Ivy Stockwell, Berthoud Elementary, and Turner Middle School to capture the needed capacity. This would be putting more classrooms in, turning Ivy Stockwell and Berthoud Elementary into 4 rounds, so 4 classes, 4 classrooms for each grade, and also providing more classroom space at Turner. Be a fairly major renovation, and we'd also add air conditioning while we're in there. We'd try and also take care of some of the issues that we saw on those earlier slides. The second option we looked at is, could we build a new elementary school in Berthoud? This would capture the growth, but we wouldn't really be able to do as much with the other schools. But we would do a small renovation to Turner Middle School. As you saw on the previous slide, though, most of the dots are in 2 places, and they're kind of centered more or less right around where those schools are. There isn't a lot of growth that's happening outside of those areas, especially where, if you look at where the school sites are, which aren't on here, but basically the school sites that we would have access to aren't where the people are. So skipping forward, looking at that, we also took this to, can you go one more slide? We also looked, so in reviewing those 2 options, we looked at obviously the input from the MTC, but also from the community, from the staff, district leadership. We were concerned about what would happen school size. Like, how is that going to matter? If we have a lot of kids, can that cause a problem with educational standards or educational quality? So looked at data from many different studies. I know Dr. Schneider gave us information on that. We received information from her on that. We looked at the different budget impacts for ongoing operations, although that isn't really a big deal because we want to do what's best for the kids. And then the last thing is looking at the best practices for learning spaces. And given all those things and keeping in mind that the 2 options as far as the capital costs to do them are basically the same. So from a investment standpoint or from a building standpoint, you're not looking at a difference. We can't really save money one way or the other. But based on that, can you go to the next slide? And then, okay. So based on that, I'll get to it in a second, but based on that, it does seem like option 1, remodeling the 2 elementary schools and Turner is going to be the better option. Now, looking at what we can do with a bond, this is information that we got from the Magellan study. The range that the study looked at was between $160 million and a $350 million bond, and where it basically came out is somewhere, the $250 million range, which those were the 3 questions, didn't quite have as much support. So somewhere between 160 and 250 is kind of where Magellan sees there's probably a sweet spot that we can get. And based on the needs that we see, hopefully around $220 million it seems like it would have the support of the community based on the Magellan survey. And then here's kind of what the impact would be for the typical homeowner. And you can go to the next slide. This is kind of what we see as being able to capture and be able to help with throughout the whole district. And now I know that the super colorful slide, you can't see everything, but the whole idea is to highlight that every school is represented in a circle. It's not just, oh, Berthoud. It's every school. It's TCC has a chunk in there. It's, Sarah Milliner. It's going to be Bill Reed. It's going to be Carrie Martin. Everybody's going to have something in there. And then the other thing we wanted to break out was that we'd be able to get all the high priority needs and some medium priority needs done. We'd be able to take care of the growth. We'd be able to take care of safety and security needs, get some of the schools a little bit more air conditioning, and then also deal with some of the educational enhancements. And so after all that, we took a vote in the MPC to recommend that, our recommendation to you guys was to go for a bond, that we see a bond need of about $200 to $220 million, and to pursue option 1 to capture the demographic needs in Berthoud, and the vote passed unanimously. So do you guys have any questions?
Okay, let's start down there. Do you have any questions down there? Denise? Okay. Alexandra?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nancy?
I was just curious, on this, the last page that you're on with the pie charts.
Yeah.
So educational enhancements would be 32.4%. And then you see security and maintenance. My question is, because I just scrolled through here, I couldn't really see exactly what the list of educational enhancements are. But from all the talk that we're always hearing about the deferred maintenance, my question is, should we not look more carefully at what we're going to spend money on for educational enhancements and maybe move it to maintenance so we can really knock out more maintenance? And will this bond finally finish all of the security needs for all the festivals and stuff like that?
Might need your help on some of that. But I think some of it is that with, there are a few things that kind of hit multiple places. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but for instance, with the improvements to Ivy Stockwell or Berthoud L, we would capture not just maintenance, but we'd also capture educational enhancements. That's part of why that's split that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I would just add that even though it's labeled enhancement, for example, if we do option 1, and then in that enhancement, there's 30 million in AC. So that's $46 million worth of air conditioning that takes care of all the deferred maintenance in those buildings for HVAC. So just because it's not specific, labeled maintenance, most of the enhancement, does touch so it's dual purpose. It enhances the space, plus it takes care of the maintenance items in there. So it's, we can break that out different. I know we're going to talk more about it, but a lot of those dollars in there are more than just enhancements. And to answer your question on security, so that would take care of our secure vestibules, with Bill Reed being the most substantial.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Stu, questions?
No, I'll save my questions and comments for the study session on October 30th.
Dun, dun, dun.
May 30th.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Amy? John? No. Very complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Very much. Yes. All right. Next item is, 8.3, transportation. No, did I skip something?
Dual immersion.
Oh, they renumbered again on me. Okay, that's good. Dual immersion. Sorry, it's like, I even checked it, and then it got rearranged again.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, I present to you a dual language immersion program update from our team. And I look behind me, I've got Tiffany Miller, who is our Director of Curriculum and Learning Design, and she does oversee pieces of the DLI program. But I also have with us Sarah Rasmussen, our Executive Director of Elementary and Early Childhood, as well as Theo Robeson, our Executive Director of Secondary and CTE. Who also oversee the matriculation of this programming. So I'm going to let them give you some updates tonight and some history, as well as current plans for the matriculation of the program into high school.
Thank you. Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board, Tiffany Miller, Director of Curriculum and Learning Design. So we have an update for you tonight, and we've got our Strive 2025 connections. And the one I want to highlight is our all students graduating on time with their seal of biliteracy. We just received the numbers. We had 69 students pass and will receive their seal of biliteracy actually at graduation. So I want to point that one out tonight. So we have here that will start our presentation, the mission that was decided for our dual language program. Most of you have seen this time and time again, so I won't read it aloud, but it is here for your reference. But our big three goals is that bilingualism, that biliteracy, high academic achievement in both languages, which right now is Spanish and English, intercultural and sociocultural competence. So we wanted to give you a little bit of history for the dual language. We heard that this was passed in 2015 through our board. We started at 2 elementary schools, Cottonwood Plains and Truscott Elementary, which their principals are both here tonight supporting. And it was also approved that Spanish would be the language that we would use for our DLI program. So as we look at that history, this was the long-range plan that was decided and approved way back in 2015 with the years and what would happen in each of those years as we go through the progression of our students. So you'll see it started in 15-16, starting at both of those elementaries, again, year 1, year 2, year 3, and it just kept going. You'll see where our 4th and 5th grade classrooms, then it transitions to middle school. I want to point out as we get into middle school what exactly was stated. The middle schools will offer 1 or 2 immersion classes for students, and then a possibility of adding a 3rd course. And you will also notice we have representation from Irwin and Bill Reed as our middle schools are here as well. And then hitting next year in the fall of 24-25, continuing on that long-range plan that was decided, is moving into our high school programs. So that is coming, and then you will also see our Loveland High and our Thompson Valley principals here. And when we look at high schools, that our high schools are going to offer advanced level immersion classes and then AP coursework in 10th grade. And then we would work with our university programs on concurrent enrollment opportunities. So next I have Sarah Rasmussen, our Executive Director of Elementary Schools.
Good evening, everyone. Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board, Sarah Rasmussen, Executive Director of Elementary Schools. And I have the privilege of just giving you a little glimpse of what dual language immersion looks like in elementary. So in elementary, our day is split. Half of the day is spent learning content in Spanish, and half of the day is spent learning content in English. So when we talk, or when we think about what that looks like, we have certain skills that our early learners have to have in English first. And in kindergarten through 2nd grade, we have, during their Spanish time, students spend their time digging into math content in Spanish. They also do some Spanish literacy. They engage in other kind of contextual, cultural opportunities. So it's not just being immersed in the language, but they have true opportunities to learn more about the culture. In the English side, they're learning those foundational English language arts skills. They have an opportunity to engage in science and social studies, and then their specials time is in English. Now, when they get to grades 3, 4, and 5, we flip some content so that in the Spanish part of their day, they are again, engaging in Spanish literacy. They're engaging in science, so content, Spanish, science content in Spanish, same with social studies. And then in English, they are now learning math. So math content is now being taught to them in English, as well as continuing to work on their English skills. So one of the things that's really important to know is that when they have that opportunity to engage in Spanish, it is the entire time. So these kids, if you've had an opportunity to walk into one of these buildings, they are completely engaged in speaking Spanish, learning content in Spanish, it's pretty amazing. And so when you walk in and you're hearing math content being spoken to and taught to kindergartners, it is one of the coolest things. But that is what our dual language immersion program looks like at the elementary level.
Greeting, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, and members of the board. I'm Theo Robeson, Executive Director of Secondary Education. So what I'd like to share with you is what the progression from elementary to middle school looks like. So here on the slide, you're able to see that in grades 6th, 7th, and 8th, our students are still immersed in their advanced Spanish language 1, 2, and 3 classes, but then they also have a social studies Spanish taught class as well at levels 1, 2, and 3. The unique thing about our program is that the students are able to receive 2 high school core credits for world language when they complete the advanced Spanish 2 and Spanish 3 course. Also, as we transition to 9th grade for the upcoming school year, one of the things that I like to point out is that our kiddos are going to be able to take the AP Spanish 4 class, and what that's going to allow our students to be able to do is have some required course which focuses on the developmental of language, literacy, cultural competencies, and intermediate mid to intermediate high levels of proficiency as well. And then when they hit the 10th grade, they'll have a Spanish 5 course that is an AP level course. And this is where our students, depending on what their score is on the AP test, they have an opportunity to earn some core college credit for their world language, which we're trying to work through right now through CU Gold. And here you're also able to see how our students, as Tiffany said earlier, we had 69 students were able to get the syllabi literacy in this graduation class. But here, what you're able to see on the right side of the screen is what they need to do in order to receive that level of proficiency and competency. So what you're able to see is one example that I'll give you is that if a student is able to show through their ELA aspects of their coursework that they can score at least a 470 on the SAT, and then if they're able to achieve a passing score on our national recognized test, which we use as the Apple test, then they're able to receive the syllabi literacy through there. Also, these are some of the events that we had this school year in support of our students from transitioning from the middle school to the high school. So you're able to see here that through October 1st through the 15th, our DLI teachers notified the 8th grade DLI families about the upcoming choice enrollment period. And in October 16th through the 31st, the DLI teachers sent out a second notification to communicate with our families about the DLI program. And then November 1st through the 10th, there was also a notification to families about the enrollment was open as well. Also, another piece to the transition from middle school to high school is we had some open houses. You're able to see that TVHS on November the 15th and April the 24th had their events, and then Loveland High had theirs on February the 7th. And then we also had an event here on Monday where our parents were able to engage at TVHS and at LHS to hear more about the program offering specifically. And then you're also able to see that we have hired some DLI teachers to help us support us with building the program as well. And this took place in the springtime. So what we would like to do is invite our principals to come up closer to help us answer any questions that you might have as the board.
Don't look around. You all know who you are. Yeah. There they are. Come on. Okay. So you want us to?
Yes.
Okay, let's start down there. Dawn, you have questions for him? I know you've had some phone calls, so that's why I was curious.
Yeah, sorry, I just glitched out entirely. I think this is all really helpful, like, to have some of the details, because I do know that was some of the questions. It sounds as if some of the details are what people are needing, and obviously we're not going to go into that granular of a level for a big presentation to everybody, but I know that when I was every time we did transitions, it was really stressful for me. So I sort of understand that same feeling of like, I still need to know more. And I had so many questions. And so I would say that without looking at the details, it's just a great reminder of that on the other side of it, like tell us 10 times more than you think you need to, because then I'll have half as many questions. I'm still gonna have a ton. And especially with a program like this, where we know that we're growing it, you know, I think the families are having that same feeling of like, wait, how is it different next year? Because those transition years are tough, and we all know that. I can see that on your faces. You've all been through this before. So thank you for helping us fill in the blanks, but then also thanks for letting me just say that part out loud.
I know you've got it.
Can you speak a little bit about the partnership with the university? What that's going to look like for our students?
Tony, I'm sorry, I forgot you. So Tony should.
But I know currently we've already reached out to CU Gold. Tyler Schlegel, who is our concurrent enrollment coordinator specialist, has already been working with actually both of the teachers that are already hired to make sure that we have that opportunity and what they're qualified for.
Going to explain a little bit what happens in a lot of the programs.
You've been there before, Tony, it's okay.
All right. I'm going to explain a little bit from the different districts and the different states where we've been working at and doing our research. They partner with the universities, and they bring a university professor in to co-teach at least once or twice a week, and then they work onto the curriculum that would be like the 300 and 400 level. And so that's what we're doing. We're kind of looking where we can work with that piece. We had a little bit of conversations with a few schools, but you know, Tyler is the one who's really kind of involved in that. So let him do his work, and then I work with him together. So that's been the goal. And to understand also some of these things as we develop it, as we get into the middle school and high school. Those were called continuation models. You know, we had the dual language model in the K-5, and then as we moved to the middle school and the high school, they were called continuation of the program, not necessarily continuation of 50-50, because we know that kids go in and they want to do other things. So offering them different types of choices, we always are going to have a literacy course to build that, but other things come along that they can do it. We can add some of the other Spanish speakers that we might have in our schools who are at that level by literacy to be able to do that too. So that's a long range type of thing as we're building this. But we've had a lot of success with kids and just being part of it, and it's really wonderful to watch.
Thanks, Tony.
Would you review for me the schools that offer, that are currently offering the program, those that will offer it next year, and explain the feeder plan?
So right now, we're transitioning the program up to Loveland High School and TBHS. And so the school started from Cottonwood Plains in the beginning, and then also Trescott Elementary School. Then we transitioned those two programs up to our middle schools, which are Bill Reed Middle School and then also Lucille Irwin Middle School.
And students from the elementary program can go to either of the middle schools, and then the middle school students can go to either of the high schools?
Yes, indeed. And so that's what seems to be happening. So we know we have strong feeders and strong commitment of parents and students to go within their feeder system. However, we do see that branching off where different students decide to go to different schools and not stay within their feeder.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Nancy?
I was looking at my notes from some of the parent comments. And so I wasn't here for the 2015 rollout, so I don't know. But it seems like there was an expectation from the families that dual immersion would be rolled out middle school, like the same as what was at elementary. And I thought, Tony, you explained it really well when you said it's not dual immersion, it's continuation, which is why it's really just the different levels of advanced Spanish. I mean, it makes sense to me, but I think for the families, there's a major disconnect in the investment in time that they did during elementary and their expectations for middle school and high school. I don't know if there's a way that maybe you guys should have another parent meeting to really help them understand that's what the intent was, not ever to have like continue to be a full DLI throughout. They're still going to be unhappy people, but I think they need some more explanation.
So I know we had our first attempt to help with that conversation on Monday with specifically, I was at TVHS watching that presentation, then I headed over to Loveland High. And so I think that that's some learning that we're going to have to do over time as the kids matriculate up. But we do know we could do that as well a bit deeper for families so they know what to expect more clearly in the future.
Andra?
So are there other school districts who have similar programs like this? And if so, how do they handle the transition from, elementary to middle to high school?
Yes, we have about 3,600 different school districts in the country now that have done it. And we've spent a lot of time, particularly with Utah, because they're really a good model that really matches what we're doing here. But they started off small. Here we go. Let's get this class underway, because not only do you have to have like the literacy class that's there, what does it mean that we put together in high school? Do we have the necessary materials, et cetera? And then we can grow out other things that we can do. And the two high school principals were talking about those at the last meeting. So it's time, because if you do everything at once, you also have to think about things like this. Who's going to teach that course? Are we finding that course? Yes, we have some teachers in the school that have that level of language, but then there's the academic language. And then it's finding the materials. They're just not laying out there. In fact, we spent about 1.5 years to try to find the materials for social studies in the middle school, because that emulates a little bit of what we teach in 6th, 7th, and 8th social studies here. And it just so happens that the school district, not just the school district, the whole state of Colorado does social studies different than most of the districts in most of the country, so the materials are not necessarily there. So we had to supplement that a lot. So we want to do it right. So and I want to say from the beginning, when we started to develop this, every one of those stages, we followed the directions exactly to make sure that we could get a start, and here we are. And we're going to be in high school, for heaven's sakes, yay.
And Denise, any questions? I know, you had some.
So you've each hired a teacher. Are those replacements for people leaving the district? Are they additions to your head count?
Sean Collins, head of schools for Loveland High School, Go Loveland. When it comes to the staffing piece for us, we were fortunate enough to have a staff member that fit the criteria within our building, and so we were able to kind of maneuver some of the FTE around to make that work for us. So we actually had people that were actually in building that fit that criteria.
So I have one teacher that's in building, and then I have another one that we just hired, that then they're going to be co-teaching this program.
Okay.
So. And my Spanish teacher does. She came from Alton. They built this program there too. So.
Same thing for Loveland. Our teacher, very familiar with it. She actually has a master's degree from Mexico, from Mexico City University is where she got her master's from.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah, I think a good reminder for us, based on not only feedback we've been receiving, but in just our overall audit and review, the district can and will be doing a better job illuminating what that trajectory looks like. So as individuals begin the journey starting in kindergarten, they should have a clear understanding of what that trajectory looks like K-12. And that's the responsibility of the district to provide clear information in partnership with the schools. So again, it was great feedback and a good reminder. I think we've been doing, and I know the schools, elementary, middle schools have been doing an excellent job matriculating the students through, and they know their kids and they know their families, they work well, but we need to be very clear with families. It's just a good education, so for those that might be opting into this program or thinking about maybe transferring into one of these schools, they should really know what it looks like from the moment they jump on the DLI train.
We have completed a document this year that is K through 12, both languages, and it just says some of the stuff that you read on those slides. So we gladly send it off to you. It's every place else, so we've sent it out, but I know it needs more detail to it. We just made this simple one to tell the story.
Okay.
Sorry, so I have a question for for the middle school people, how many of the kids who start the program in 6th grade have continued through 8th grade? Do most of them stick with it, or did they switch out, or how, not specific numbers, but in general?
With the exception of maybe 1 or 2 in my building, they've all stayed. The ones that have left have moved out of district or moved out of state. So we've lost maybe 1.
I would say at Bill Reed, between 6th and 8th, we've lost a few more than Lucille Irwin, just because at the middle school level, they have different opportunities to explore other pathways, but all of those were by choices of the parents, so, yeah.
Because I've lived with this program all my life. What we've started to do is we've gone to some of the feeder schools, and we're starting to work with the ELD teachers. Like I just had a couple from Edmondson this year that teacher recognized. So we came in and gave them the Apple test to see if they qualified to go into middle school. So we're going to keep doing that to connect our native and heritage Spanish speakers that could take advantage of this if they wanted to.
Good, thank you. Amy, you had a question.
So could you please explain what, and I don't know how to say, what's the difference between graduating with a seal of biliteracy versus this program?
The Seal of Biliteracy is a national program now. In fact, we were state number 27 that got the seal, and it went through our legislature, and we worked through all of that. And so we started giving the Seal of Biliteracy in 2018. We have kids who take level 4 and 5, Spanish, French, German, and this year we had Hindi, that could take the test. So it's just one of the extra pieces that a kid gets on his transcript. We put it on the transcript, and it really has taken off in that there are a lot of employers that look at this. It says, here you are at this level of proficiency in English and Spanish, and in this day and age, that's definitely an advantage.
Do the students, is the plan that the students who graduate high school going through this program will get a distinction other than a seal of biliteracy?
We have,
or
we're not there yet.
Okay.
I'm sure we will, but we have 2 seals of biliteracy. There's the Colorado Seal of Biliteracy. That's at a higher level than the Thompson Seal of Biliteracy. So actually, I could say that we already have some students that are darn near close to that coming in for middle school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Is that it? All right, thank you, you guys. What we needed. We appreciate it.
I want to just point out that I think it's really weird everyone called her Tony because her name is Mademoiselle Tyson. Period.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
it
weird
is.
everybody called her
All
Tony.
of a sudden, I heard this voice coming, and who's talking? I'm sorry. It's not. Not Tyson? Yeah, it is. Tony. Tony. Yeah. Oh, Mademoiselle. Yeah, that's true. Yes. All right, I've lost track of the agenda. There it is. It's transportation now. Yes, update. 8.4.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Education, Doug Schaefer, Top Tacony Chief Operations Officer. Tonight, I'm quickly going to turn this over to Matt Payne, our amazing Transportation Director. It's going to really review plans moving forward, kind of where we've been, and then what it could look like next year as we continue with some transportation staffing issues.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer. Thank you for having me tonight. Matt Payne, Director of Transportation, here to give you an update on transportation. Connections to Strive 2025, focus area 3.1, utilize culturally responsive recruitment, hiring, and retention practices. And 4.1, increase alignment of resources to reflect the needs identified in the strategic plan. So to give everyone an update on staffing and just transportation in general, it's been a pretty busy year. We have had 59 new driver candidates this school year in 23-24. We are very excited and proud to say that we have 11 new drivers hired from that pool. They are doing awesome. Needless to say, we asked them to hit the ground driving, and they were able to kind of jump right in and meet that. So that's pretty exciting. Just kind of a basic snapshot of our daily operation. We're currently operating 56 daily routes. 1 to 2 additional routes expected for 24-25. That's pretty common, right? Just kind of throw out that number. Some of that might be needed for areas of growth, like say the Johnstown area or Berthoud. And we always keep planning and keep resources planned for our direct service routes around ESS needs, that sort of thing. Some operational needs that we are seeing wrapping up the current school year of 23-24. We currently have 5 open routes that don't have a permanent driver assigned to them. Most days we're averaging closer to 10 total routes that need to be covered for employee leave and other reasons, things like that. Bittersweet, but we have 3 driver retirees moving on, and we're certainly happy for them, but sad to see them go, and 1 other driver moving on for the 23-24 school year. Looking a little deeper into the operations, trip support was significantly impacted for 23-24. I feel that for the past few years, but kind of always, we've done a really great job of keeping a pretty high level of trip and activity support, especially in the past few years when we and a lot of operations divisions are experiencing these staffing challenges. We do expect those limitations to continue, but of course remain committed to providing that support whenever possible. We are seeing yearly increases in our direct service transportation needs. This kind of covers the list there, right? Our district and federally mandated transportation, our early childhood, ESS, ELD, district placement, highly mobile families, those sort of needs there. That's connected directly to a yearly increase in our outside partnership needs and use. Companies like Hop, Skip, Drive have been critical and great to partner with over the past few years. We're certainly seeing an increase in needs for requests for their services. They in turn we're seeing that they're having staffing challenges as well. They support a pretty high level for us currently, but we're seeing as requests increase, they're sometimes having trouble kind of covering that. So things we've been working on this year and wanted to continue to look at for options for 24-25. We wanted to work with an outside logistics company to take kind of a fresh look, bring in a company to look over what we were doing, kind of more of a transportation audit of our routing services. And so we partnered with a company called School Bus Logistics for that study. And so working with School Bus Logistics, they performed 3 separate studies for our district. And during that process, I do want to give a big shout out to our district planning manager, Ryan Baker. He jumped in to kind of help with some input and support there. And we kind of grabbed him and made him an honorary routing member of our team for a while there. And he's kind of still helping us out. So big shout out to him. But in looking at the studies that school bus logistics performed for us. One was a consolidation study with our current bell time and tiering structure, kind of taking obviously what we do now and seeing if there's any room to combine routes or any other areas that we might be missing that might have some opportunity there. The second being a bell time adjustment study, a much more impactful kind of look at transportation and routing that would involve moving bell times uniquely to certain routes and areas in schools. And then also looking at kind of a stub hop consolidation study, a hub stop hub consolidation study there, which is looking at kind of more of the hub stop kind of model for routing, which would impact and ask families and communities to kind of bring students to more centralized locations to kind of pick up routes and cover transportation services that way. And taking the information that we worked and got from education or the logistics company and our team as well, recommendations that we are putting in place for the 24-25 school year in reference to transportation. Number one, we recommend a planned schedule for temporary route service holds for the entire 24-25 school year to begin in August 24. This plan and these temporary route service holds are very similar, if not the exact same, of what we're doing right now and currently in place for this school year. We've seen some success there, certainly an impact to our community and our schools, but they have certainly helped us maintain that transportation service level across the board. Recommendation number two, combined routing options. This is something that we've been working on. It's a part of routing, it always is. It's a part of keeping routing efficient. Specifically over the past few years, we've looked at this and implemented some options in certain areas. So we want to continue to look at that. And recommendation number three, recommend continued planning for hub stop routing options. This is certainly a much more impactful option, but something that we want to keep planning for, if we see these struggles continue. And so to kind of summarize all of that, with recommendations 1 and 2, those modifications of kind of the temporary route service holds or pausing of those scheduled routes and stop combinations, we feel that we can continue to provide transportation, for the district at the level that we'd like to keep it at. Further outcomes and priorities. First, our commitment, right? We are here and we remain committed to providing transportation services to our community, I'm sorry. It's literally why we're here. We will always hold that commitment and focus. And we also want to keep our commitment and our focus to employee recruitment and retention. I cannot say it enough. I say it every time I'm up here. We are always excited to bring on new team members, and we'll always be making that a goal. But I cannot give enough appreciation to our big team over there at Transportation. They are literally the people that are doing it every day, early mornings, late nights. They're changing their leave requests, they're putting off vacations, they're canceling doctor's appointments, they're picking up extra shifts. They are literally driving and going the extra mile. And so they are always our continued focus. And then, of course, our community partnerships. We want to continue to gather input from the community and work with our community, possible options like a community meeting to discuss some of these options that we're looking for the 24-25 school year. And another option back on the employee recruitment and retention, we have recently partnered with a recruitment company, Urban Recruiting. And this is a recent partnership, literally within the last month. We're super excited to continue to work with them, as well as our awesome HR team, and just kind of keep seeing where we can open up doors and bring in awesome new candidates. So I want to thank everybody again for having me tonight and ask if anybody has questions.
All right, let's start down here this time. Questions?
Yeah, by community partnerships, do you mean like Loveland Bus Service, or what does that look like?
That's a great question too, to add on to what does that mean, right? A community partner there. And yes, we do want to continue to partner and look at options like Colt. I know that they are always encouraging us and reaching out, and we stay connected there. Their service levels cover a lot of ground. And I think specifically for our secondary students, that continues to be a great option. So yeah, we certainly want to continue to work with them, get that information out, and also see how we can combine it, not necessarily to hand off any of our routing, but to grow that information for the community.
Alexandra?
So, not that I'm saying we should stop providing service, but are the people that we're like legally required to provide service for, are those the ones you mentioned at the beginning as far as like the ESS and the highly mobile and so on and so forth?
Yes, so that, there's more to it, but yeah, that pretty much covers those groups, and they are federally mandated, and there's mandates there in place to where we are required to provide those services.
So for the rest of like the average kid in the district who just happens to live a few miles from their school, we're doing it because it's a nice thing to do, not because we have to. Is that right?
Correct, yes. We
Okay.
remain committed to providing that transportation support, but yes, it's not necessarily mandated.
Okay, thank you.
Nancy?
I was just curious about, I know earlier in the year when we had to make some of those changes for the berthed kind of rural routes, how are we addressing that, or will this address that? Are they still impacted? Is there a plan for that?
Yeah, that's another great question, right? And that's kind of recommendation one. That would be kind of more of that plan, is to have a full yearly plan schedule for that, and basically be able to communicate that out to the district, to our schools, to our community prior to the school year beginning, so that we can all plan and have that information as well.
And it impacted every route at some point, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
we went across the board pretty well. There were a couple routes here and there, but outside of that, and that's at the beginning of the year, we were starting with different options, delays, and that sort of thing.
Or if I could just extend a little bit on Matt's answer for,
Okay.
There are case-by-case situations where we might have students that have unique transportation needs, or securing transportation might be prohibitive, and I know that the department is working on these singleton instances. So part of it is just illuminating and being transparent at the start of the year. Here's the schedule so that we can, families can adequately plan. And we recognize that we have some families that might have unique hardships, and I know that the transportation team has worked individually with them.
I understand that, we do a plan at the beginning of the year, but wasn't this issue, is changes made already through the year? Or if I'm not remembering correctly, let me know, but these were changes made after the start of the year plan.
Correct. Yeah, we had some unforeseen staffing shortages and things, I don't want to say necessarily just fell off a cliff, but we definitely had some unexpected staffing shortages that really put us in a place to where we had to make some adjustments. And that caused us to kind of look at the bigger picture and implement a bigger plan after the school year had started, where we were impacting different areas and different routes, and that brought on the bigger picture where we wanted to make sure that we were being as fair and as equitable as possible, and impacting all areas of the district where we could to support the whole district support service.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, first of all, thank you to you and your transportation team for surviving a very difficult year. We as a board certainly appreciate that. I submitted a couple or three questions, and I'm assuming that you probably received those. I appreciate the numbers that you provided, but my questions really are more general in nature. The question that Nancy just asked touched on one of the areas, which is which obstacles that you face this year should be improved next year. You mentioned the berthed transportation system. Are there others that occur to you that you face this year that you believe will be improved next year?
Mm-hmm. And that's a great question. It's our challenges, we expect them to continue, right? Challenges around staffing and an increased need in transportation. We do feel that the recommendation one of having a full kind of school year long plan in place to communicate that ahead of time to the communities and the schools and the areas that they will be impacted and when, that will improve that situation, right? As opposed to, I think we did a great job with communication, the best we could. But again, to have that given out before the school year, as opposed to maybe weeks or months ahead of time, I think that will certainly improve that. And yeah, there's other areas where we're always going to keep looking at routing, right, and staffing. And the staffing is in some ways out of our control, but the routing will continue to look at areas if there's things we can do to improve. We want to make sure that we're not making any drastic knee-jerk decisions either, and keeping the future in mind and growth and support areas there as well.
All right. The second question, you may not need to answer. You may already have answered it, but I'll go ahead and ask the question anyway. Are there challenges or problems that you believe will be about the same next year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another great question, right? I don't, it's not necessarily about new challenges. I think it's a continuation of the challenges we're expecting. And that all rolls into this. And we are looking at the recommendations 2 and 3 and other options like that. They might be more impactful, but we want to continue to plan and have those solutions to implement almost, in the next phase if this kind of continues, because ultimately that is the goal, is to keep that continued commitment to an overall district support level of service for transportation.
All right, and the last question, the presentation certainly touched on, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to expand on that if something else occurs to you. So the last question is, are you anticipating any new challenges? And if so, what are you doing to get ready for them? As I said, your presentation already touched on that, but is anything else occurring to you?
Sure, and we have to keep an open mind, right? And we can't just get locked into like, hey, we're working on the staffing challenges as a whole. That does cover a lot. We're seeing the increases in direct service need. We're seeing the limitations to trips, athletics and extracurricular. And so we're continuing to work within our department teams, right? And working with Director of Athletics Kevin Clark, working with HR, all of these groups to think outside of the box and come up with solutions there. So again, it's not so much about new challenges, more of just continuations and trying to find those ways to support. And we're just going to continue to work to find those options where we can, and then look at the bigger picture and work towards solutions that we might have to put into play. They might bring on greater impacts, but.
And then finally, thanks again for the answers, and thanks again for all that the transportation team has done to keep the wheels on the bus going round and round.
Thank you. I'll certainly be passing that on.
Yeah. Yeah. Amy? Amy?
When your dad jokes. I don't have any comments. Go.
We'll all sing it.
No, yeah, well, I won't be singing tonight. I'm not losing the voice, but yeah.
Matt, I don't have a question, but, just wanted to extend gratitude, to you and your department, your paras, your drivers, your schedulers, everybody, so flexible, so, working hard. They care about the kids, getting kids to where they need to be. And yeah, it was great to see that we were able to get the kids to the Unified Elementary game and, to the up at Fossil for the track and field. So yeah, it's, and I appreciate the creativity, that you guys are trying, but yeah, it's a huge problem. So just extend our thanks and appreciation to your team.
Thank you.
So I'm really glad that we're going to have the impacts as early as possible. I'm very grateful for that. And I want to also just, remind everyone that what we saw happen out of that in more of a crisis, I hope we can do again, since we're all in it together, which is thinking of how do we solve this together? Because I think some really cool things happened through that, when we found out that the buses couldn't be there was other people who stepped up. I know that's what's been happening for athletics and events as well. And then that reminds me of something that was said very early in this evening from a public comment, which is that there might be an opportunity by us sharing this information in advance and tying it to the openings that maybe some people will consider it who never did. And I think also sharing the information on the fact that we expect athletics and activities to be impacted all year would be a great thing to also share early, just because I think that's great. And then I also wanted to mention one thing that I heard in another committee meeting last week I think it was, which is that another great thing that you did, and I bet there's 400 other things that you didn't mention that are like this, is really looking at some of those students that need it, that are mandated, and making sure that they actually need transportation. And, like the assumption that sometimes we start with a kindergartner and that we're still doing the same thing in 6th grade might not be true. And I think that goes both ways. And so that's why I brought it up. Your team's already doing the work of doing the reviews to make sure we're picking up the right kids. I think it goes the other ways as well, which is that sometimes the families need to be the ones to tell us when they have a need that changes. Not everybody makes that connection or knows that they need to. So the fact that we're going to be sharing this information proactively with our community, I think just letting them know what the best possible way is to communicate those exceptions and all of those things, just because I know you're already getting a lot. I'm just hoping we can get ahead of it a little bit and ease some of the congestion that shows up at the beginning of the year for you.
Yeah, and thank you, and thank you for mentioning the rest of our team. It's not that sometimes we get just a little caught up in the drivers. This presentation is more about just the routes and how we actually can drive those. But of course, the big team, again, our paras, our crossing guards, our staff filling in. And thank you for those comments as well. And I won't go into too many names, you all know them already, but it truly is a district team effort. And to kind of help in both the understanding and the helping us look at the outside of the box options, but also helping us work towards that district team efficiency around how we're handling all transportation. It's a lot of conversations that can be difficult and easily bring on a closed door. But I just really would give thanks to all those people, again, that lead and are a part of those departments too, because it's really been a full team effort for quite a while. And it's helpful to not all fall on us, so.
I have just one question, and it comes from having been an elementary teacher and this time of year. How did field trip season go this year?
It's and that's, it was hard typing in the words significant impacts and things like that, right? Like we're being transparent here. But so it was impacted, but we were still able to support the,
good.
maybe not to the level or the amount,
Yeah.
but we still had plenty of trips to the Science Museum, and not just local, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I hope that we were able to support every elementary school and every school with their needs.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
Just
like we just
curious.
had to completely close that
It
door.
always is a conversation that comes up when you have have
Of
time to
course,
visit
yeah,
with the
and
elementary teacher.
especially in spring.
It's, our field trip is next week, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Maybe there's a bus and maybe there isn't.
Yeah,
So,
and I think
okay.
plenty of times we had to ask for adjustments and
Yeah.
can you change the
Well,
date?
yeah,
And
we all
probably
want
had
to
to
be
say,
flexible.
we're not able to support it some, but we were still able to keep that support there, and that's kind of the goal.
This was very beneficial tonight. Thank you very much. We just appreciate the whole transportation department.
Yeah.
Our kids wouldn't be with us every day if we didn't have that. So,
Thank you. I will certainly pass it on to the team. No singing, but I'll work on
Okay.
that.
You aren't going to go in singing Wheels on the Bus?
I'll try. Maybe next time. Thank you.
All righty. We are ready for our final presentation tonight. And it's going to be a budget update. Thank you, Gordon. Why did you hear that comment?
I did not, and I'm not sure I want to.
No, you don't.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board, for letting me serve the metaphorically dessert portion of your meeting tonight.
If we had some chocolate, it might go down easier.
I will do my best to be bright, be brief, be gone. No guarantees on any of that. Alignment with Strive 2025 for the budget. The same focus area that we referred to before, so I won't dwell on that. A very brief legislative update, and I'm not going to go into detail on these, but I tried to highlight some of the key legislative bills that took place this year. Just very quickly down the list, 1389 was school funding for new arrival students. So these are students that arrived this year, and the funding is received this year for 23-24 for those new arrival students. Based on the passage of the bill, Thompson is in line to receive about $313,000 for that, for students that weren't in the funded pupil count in October but have arrived in the district since. 1390 is school food programs. I'll mention this. I mention this because it does repeal or delay some of the programs of the HSMA, or the Healthy School Meals for All, that were intended in the 23-24 passage of that legislation. So there are some delays in that. Two primary ones was a stipend that was supposed to be allowed for food service servers, and funding locally, or funding for purchasing primarily produce locally. Although Thompson was one of the leaders in the state in that program, and we were grandfathered in at a certain level on that. 1393 is the Accelerating Concurrent Enrollment Program modifications. This has to do with the Ascent program, the fifth-year seniors. There is a cap that will be put on those students. We've grown that program through the efforts of the concurrent enrollment team within the district, and interest by students in taking those classes. So there will be a cap on that. At whatever our enrollment is for the 24-25 year will be the cap for future years. So that team, Tyler Schlegel, you've heard his name a time or two tonight, and Andy Stevens are looking to open that up, keep the applications open for another couple weeks to try to maximize the number of students in that program. 1430 is just a long appropriations bill for the state. 1448 is the new public school finance formula. I've talked about this before. There's no impact for 24-25, but it's a 6-year implementation that begins in 25-26 and goes through 2030-31. It does have some fairly significant changes to the school finance formula. Thompson is actually one of those districts that will be a slight winner, I would say, based on current legislation and the current act and what the future act could look like. Maybe about $1 or $1.2 million more in funding for Thompson, but more to come on that in the distant future. 188 is the public school finance for this year. I put that just to recognize the PPR number of 10,791, and to emphasize that this is the first year in the last 15 that the budget stabilization factor will be 0. That doesn't mean it's been eliminated forever. It just means it's 0 for next year. And Senate Bill 233 is property tax legislation that was introduced very late in the session and passed. This is a hot topic that's out there. It does have significant changes. It for the first time in my history here, and I think in the history of property taxation in Colorado, it provides 2 different calculations for a homeowner's value, or any property owner's value, in that their school district taxes will be calculated one way, and all the other taxes will be calculated another. And that has to do with the state equalization, the state match, the backfill that would be needed, a variety of different things. So again, my note at the bottom, this is not intended to be an all-inclusive list, but it gives you a flavor for some of the happenings in the last session that will impact the district going forward. These slides I'm going to go through very quickly. I've broken this down. You've seen this 2 or 3 times in different presentations from a revenue perspective or enrollment perspective, MLO. Pardon me. This is just to reiterate that from a funded pupil count, you can see the changes from the 23-24 actual numbers from our October count and what 24-25 is that we're looking at. The key thing that I'll point out is for Thompson School District on the funded pupil count change of 216.7 students, that's minus 1.7%. That does not mean the district is losing 216.7 students. It's mainly because of the averaging factor that's in play, the 5-year averaging, which under the new School Finance Act formula is going to 4 years in the future, a 4-year average rather than 5. But as I've explained before, we're dropping off a high enrollment 5th year, 5 years prior, and replacing it with a lower number this year. That's the primary driver in bringing down that change for TSD funded pupil count. Our total program revenue, which is what the School Finance Act dictates, this is in its simplest terms funded pupil count times the per pupil revenue to get to total program funding. Again, I show this with the charter schools separate. While they are included in the overall student count and the overall total program for the district, I think it's beneficial and transparent to everybody to be able to show those separately. So a total of $157.2 million in program funding next year, of which about $135.6 million is attributable to TSD. Moving right along from a revenue standpoint for mill levy override revenue, this shows the historical trend of what our mill levy collections have been since fiscal year 18-19. And again, it shows it with the 3 MLOs that we have in place. As a reminder, the first 2 are capped. They will not get any larger no matter what happens to our assessed valuations. The one adjustable mill that we have is the 2018 mill. And for the first year, 23-24 was the first year where the district reached that statutory cap of 25% of total program that's allowed to be collected. So rather than the ballot language for the 2018 MLO that called for a mill of up to 7.6 mils, it can never go above 7.6 mils, but we had to adjust that mill rate down to make sure we stayed within the parameters of statute to only collect 25% of total program in our MLO funding. And graphically, this has more years reflected because I think it's helpful to see some of those years where we had a significant increase in an assessment year. Every other year is an assessment year. But in the latter years, as you get to 23, 24, 25, you see that increase being much less than it was year to year in the past. And that's because we're at that 25% cap right now. Even though property values continue to escalate, we're capped at that 25% figure. Other revenue, the main thing that I'm going to point out here is related to universal pre-K, about 2/3 of the way down the page there, the $3.5 million. That asterisk denotes what we have planned for next year from a offering perspective. So there are 20 classrooms that will be half-day UPK. There are 7 classrooms that are full-day, and 3 classrooms that are ILC for half-day programs. The dollar amounts you see on the right side of that at the bottom is what is determined by the Colorado Department of Early Childhood, CDEC. This program prior to this year used to be administered through CDE, but now it's through a different department with the state. So you can see their dictated rates for half-day and full-day service. And it's capped at, the half-day program is 10 hours, even though we provide 12 or 12.5 hours of services for a half-day program. And the full day is capped at 30 hours at the state level. So you can see a bit of a potpourri there of some of the other revenue items to total about $17.4 million. Now we move from a revenue perspective into expenditures. You've heard most of this tonight, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but these are some of the FTE cost highlights, if you will, and I would consider them highlights, except maybe the first item. But our insurance rates, our health, dental, life insurance did increase by about 7% in the renewal, and the board at a previous meeting had agreed to or passed the resolution to absorb that cost of about $1.2 million. And then we've heard from the negotiations update earlier this evening. From a license standpoint, the budget format or budget estimate that we have out there now anticipates awarding steps and columns as appropriate, and that's equates to about a 2.14% increase, and then increasing each cell in the salary schedule of both Schedule A and Schedule B by $3,300 per cell. Overall, that means a 7.02% average increase on the licensed salary schedule. That same 7.02% is applied to the APT staff, staffed positions or budgeted positions, and then the classified staff. In an effort to have a little more focus there, that was increased to 8% for classified staff. And again, the note at the bottom, I think now since previous action by the board this evening, that those are figures that should be pretty solid, I think, from a budget standpoint. Then we move on to our non-FTE costs. This is, again, not intended to be an all-inclusive list, but it gives an indication of not what the budget amount is for proposed budget amount for 23-24, but what the increase in each one of those categories is from year to year. So that's not, should not be interpreted or seen as the total budget in those areas, but rather an increase year over year, which far outpaces the standard 3% that we try to target from a non-FTE inflationary increase standpoint. And I won't go through this in detail. For those of you that like to check my work, so to speak, if you foot this, it will not foot because I failed to update the total. I changed one number up above and didn't update the total at the bottom. So there is a mistake in that. 4,817,000 should be the bottom number rather than 4,965,000. But a couple items that I'll point out, the concurrent enrollment, you can see up the not only health insurance, but our property liability and workers' comp insurance is showing on a renewal increase of $389,000. And then the two items at the bottom, just as we reflect the charter school revenue, their portion of the proportionate share of PPR times their student count and their agreed upon distribution share of the MLOs, we count that as revenue in our books, but we also transfer that charter share directly onto them. So we have to show the expenditure or expense side of that as well. So that's the bottom two numbers. That is about another $2 million in added expense from the revenue, increased revenue that we anticipate to receive. Last slide is a combination or combining all of those items. So what we think our revenue is going to be, what we think our expenditures are going to be, to create a bottom line in the for-profit sector. You would consider that your profit or loss. In the governmental accounting parlance, that is a change. It's called change in fund balance. So something I'm going to point out, pay particular attention to the heading that says preliminary, because these numbers will change, hopefully for the better. But if you look at the middle column, that's the 24-25 anticipated preliminary budget at this point. Staff right now is going through an exercise of reviewing those submitted budgets to see, is this really what we thought a month or two ago when those templates were completed? Are there areas where there may be some new thinking that could adjust some of those numbers, and just a double check as much as anything? So you'll see in the middle column with the significant increase of 7% and 8%, plus benefit increases on the FTE side of things, albeit offset somewhat by new revenue. comparing it to the prior year budget versus next year's budget. There is new revenue that we're anticipating, but then those FTE costs that I referenced as well. This reflects a $3.9 million use of reserve balance. I would expect that number to improve as we complete our review over the next month, not the next month, sorry, the next week or so. And just to let the board know that there will be the deep dive of this, much more detailed information will be at for the study session in June, the June 5th, I believe it is, study session. We'll have a lot more of the line item detail that makes up these rolled up or summarized numbers that you see here. I would also comment on the use of reserves, that is a very thoughtful, measured, understood initiative to get to that point, knowing that we can't do that on an ongoing basis. So the use of these reserves is intended to be a one-time effort that we were able to put forth, and with the great work of the negotiations team and what we were able to propose and put into, have come to fruition. These are the figures where we're at, but that's intended to be not a normal recurring event, but something that it really positions us well. I think it's a prudent, measured approach, positions us well from a competitive standpoint with the other districts in the area. And again, we would hope to improve on that number when we get the final version of the budget that's brought to the board in June for consideration of adoption.
Questions for Gordon? Let's start down here. No.
You guys would be shocked if I didn't ask a question.
Chagrined, I think, would be the word I would use.
First, I only have a couple things because I know I sent you that request for information that has a lot more, will have a lot more detail when you respond back. And so, and I'm pretty certain you probably have most of what I asked for anyway.
Yes.
So one thing is, it looks like, out of the general fund spending per student, funded pupil count is about now up to about 15,000, which is good. I mean, it keeps going up. The other thing is, I looked up that legislation for the money for the new arrival students, and based on the language in that would suggest, based on the amount of money that we're getting, that we have somewhere between 51 to 100 of these new arrival students, which the reality is these are new arrival students that are coming in from our open southern borders. But is the 51 to 100, is that the range? Did I read that correctly?
I would, the calculation that I've come to is the tier below that. So 41 is the number of students that I've included in that count. So there's a base factor, I believe, of $125,000 for any district, and then $4,600 for each student that you have. So I think we're in the tier just one down from what you had, which is 31 to 50,
And
I
that,
believe.
but will that be enough to cover some of the extra services that these students need?
Certainly, we're
Okay.
absorbing those. We've absorbed those services for those students as they've been integrated into the classrooms thus far. So it's
Okay.
really just funding to it really is additional funding to help cover some of those costs if we had to have additional supports that we would have inserted just based on the needs of the classroom. It would help cover some of those costs, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Questions over there?
So I have a question. I saw somewhere, and I don't know where, that MLO 25% cap was getting increased to 27%. Is that, where is that and when is that, and is that true?
Thank you for the question. That's part of Senate Bill, House Bill 24-1443. I'm forgetting my legislative numbers. It's the New School Finance Act. 48, thank you, Member Wood. It's one of those numbers between 0 and 9. So there is a calculation, a fairly complicated calculation that has to do with the change in the formula, and then comparing that to the total program, and then comparing that to the 25% cap to determine for Thompson School District, you're exactly right, the increase that I've seen is 2% on that cap to get it to 27%. Some districts don't have any increase, potential increase. Some districts have a 6 or 8% increase. Also, not all districts are at that 25% level, so it's a moot point for those districts that are well below that. But that is, it's implemented at the same time, under the same phase-in period of the proposed new school finance formula, which is starting in the 25-26 fiscal year. And it only goes through the 2030-31 fiscal year, and then it will revert to 25% again, with the expectation that that was one of the late amendments to the bill, was to allow for any loss in funding that there could have been from the change in the formula, because the formula will be phased in at 18% the first year, 30% the second, 48% the third. Until you get to 100% phase-in, they're giving districts that ability to expand their MLO collection percentage, and then after the 30-31 year, it will revert back to the 25%.
Denise?
No questions.
Stu just said he had a question.
Yeah, just a very quick clarifying question that goes along with what Nancy asked. My recollection is that the amount of money in the fund for the new students is about $25 million total for the state. And when you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I believe you said that our number of students was very, very small in terms of what the impact would be on our individual budget. Do I remember correctly?
Correct. You do recall correctly. It's, I believe it's 24 million rather than 25, but what's a million amongst friends? That's spread across all the districts out there. So if we have 41 students that have been identified and we track that through our student records, there's districts out there that have 2,800 students that are in that category. So while not insignificant, I never want to make it insignificant of $300,000, but in the whole scheme of things, yes, a small percentage.
Okay, Dawn has a question.
Well, actually, I just had a clarifying thing, and it's outside of your wheelhouse, but I thought it was important to be factual since, you know, we're education. And that is that immigration is the only thing that's going to keep our Social Security solvent for those of us on this dais who wants to have it someday. And they're actually the only way that we're going to have enough people to take care of us, too. So, yay. Just wanted to make sure we were accurate about the value of immigrants. Thanks for being here.
Illegal immigrants.
All right, Gordon, thank you. We'll look forward to the next level.
I'm sure you will.
All right, the next item is written reports. We just have one. That's from the Family Pie that comes each month. Are there any requests for information? Dr. Schaefer?
I'll remind the board that we have a special meeting on May 30th. Special. It'll be a great meeting. It'll be May 30th. It'll be in this room, and it'll be at 5 p.m.
5 o'clock. Okay. Anybody else? All right, this meeting is adjourned.